Everything's a good job. You're probably not going to get real epic. We usually have
Okay, we'll call the Tremont Planning Board meeting of Tuesday, October 11th, 2022 to order at 6:03 p.m. Roll call. We have Lawson Wilson, Brett Witham, Beth Gott, myself, Mark Good, and I'll take a motion to excuse Jeff.
Second.
Okay, motion and second to excuse Jeff Young. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Minutes. The minutes look fine. I just found two typos. If you look on, I think it's the last page. The two motions there, it's transitions, not transitions, Ridgetown Road.
Tradition.
It should be traditions, yeah. So unless somebody sees anything else, I take a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from September 27th with the amendment or changing in, I think it's paragraph 6, the last two paragraphs, paragraph in section 6.
Yep.
Change transitions to traditions.
Okay.
I'll second it.
What's that? Autocorrect. I knew you were going to say it was autocorrect. Yeah, everybody blames their typos on autocorrect. Okay. We motion second on the table to approve the minutes of September 27th as amended to change transitions to transitions. Traditions, I mean. Traditions, yes, thank you. Oh, I'm confused. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay. So public hearing, John? Okay. We'll open a public hearing on the subdivision amendment to Traditions, Ridgetown Road, amendment number 3, at, I guess, 6:05. Any comment? Oh, boy, we knew we weren't going to get much, huh? Okay. I'll close the members. Any comments or anything?
Did we get new drawings today?
Yes, Mr. Benson.
Is this the right
New
time to ask for them, or should we wait till after the public hearing?
You want to explain what you changed, Tom, while we're here?
I took off the view easement off what was 7A, and it benefited lot 6, the original lot 6. Mr. Phillips and his wife owned both lots, so he advised me to take the view easement off.
Because it don't affect himself. That's the only change, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Change the date also.
thank you. Okay, we'll close the public hearing at 6:06, huh? And we'll go on to findings of fact.
Mark, please pass those drawings up.
Yes, sorry. You want the big ones too?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, findings of fact on the subdivision amendment here. Check, I want to check and see where it says what views. Okay, the first thing is pollution. The proposed subdivision will not result in undue water or air pollution. I'm not gonna read all these unless you folks really want me to.
But you want a motion for each of these, right?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Oh, no, we can, you want a motion on each of these? Yes, okay, I'm thinking of completeness, yes.
Yeah. I'll make a motion that the application has, or that the criteria for pollution has been met because the combination of the two lots will not have any undue effect on water or air pollution.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and second on the table find that the pollution condition has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Okay, unanimous, okay. Sufficient water. The proposed subdivision has sufficient water available for the foreseeable needs of the subdivision.
I'll make a motion that the requirement for sufficient water has been met because the combining of the two lots will not have any effect on water and the water available for the needs of the subdivision.
I'll second.
Motion is second to find that the sufficient water condition has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
All right.
4-0 again. Municipal water supply. The proposed subdivision will not cause an unreasonable burden on an existing water supply if one is to be used. And we all know why this is not applicable, because there's no public water supply available. Can I take a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to that effect.
I'll second.
Motion and second on the table to find the municipal water supply condition is not applicable because we don't have a public water supply. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Erosion. The proposed subdivision will not cause unreasonable soil erosion or a reduction in the land's capacity to hold water so that a dangerous or unhealthy condition results.
I'll make a motion that this requirement has been met because the proposed combining of the two lots will not cause unreasonable soil erosion or a reduction in the land's capacity to hold water so that a dangerous or unhealthy condition results.
I'll second.
Motion and second on the table to find erosion condition has been met for stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Traffic. The proposed subdivision will not cause unreasonable highway or public road congestion or unsafe conditions with respect to the use of the highways or public roads existing and proposed, and if the proposed subdivision requires driveways or entrances onto a state or state aid highway located outside of the urban compact area of an urban compact municipality as defined by Title 23, Section 754, the Department of Transportation has provided documentation indicating that the driveway or entrances conform to Title 23, Section 704, and any rules adopted under that section.
That's word. I'll make a motion that the traffic requirement has been met because the proposed combining of the two lots will not cause unreasonable highway or public road congestion.
I'll second it.
Okay, once again, a motion and second on the table to find that the traffic condition has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye, 4-0. Okay, sewage disposal. The proposed subdivision will provide for adequate sewage waste disposal and will not cause an unreasonable burden on municipal services if they are utilized.
I'll make a motion that the sewage disposal requirement has been met because the combining of the two lots will not affect the sewage disposal system.
I'll second it.
Motion and second on the table that the sewage disposal requirement has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Municipal solid waste disposal. The proposed subdivision will not cause an unreasonable burden on the municipality's ability to dispose of solid waste if municipal services are to be utilized.
I'll make a motion that the municipal solid waste disposal requirement is not applicable because there is no municipal solid waste disposal.
I'll second.
Yep, motion second on the table to find the municipal solid waste disposal conditions not applicable because there's no municipal solid waste disposal in this town. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Aesthetic, cultural, and natural values. The proposed subdivision will not have an undue adverse effect on the scenic or natural beauty of the area, aesthetics, historic sites, significant wildlife habitat identified by the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife or the municipality, or rare and irreplaceable natural areas or any public rights-of-way for physical or visual access to the shoreline.
I'll I'll make a motion that the aesthetic, cultural, and natural values requirement has been met, because the combining of the two lots will not have any undue adverse effect on scenic or natural beauty of the area, aesthetics, historic sites, or significant wildlife habitat.
I'll second it.
Okay, once again, a motion second on the table to find that the aesthetic, cultural, and natural values condition has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
4-0 again. Conformity with local ordinances and plans. The proposed subdivision conforms with a duly adopted subdivision regulation or ordinance, comprehensive plan, development plan, or land use plan, if any. In making this determination, the municipal reviewing authority may interpret these ordinances and plans.
I make a motion that the conformity with local ordinances and plans requirement has been met, because the combining of the two lots conforms to a duly adopted subdivision regulation or ordinance, the comprehensive plan, development plan, or the land use plan.
I second it.
Motion is second on the table to find that the conformity of local ordinances and plans condition has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Financial and technical capacity. Subdivider has adequate financial, though we need to correct that spelling there, John, and technical, I know it was autocorrect, and technical capacity to meet the standards of this section.
I make a motion that the financial and technical capacity requirement has been met, because the applicant has no expense in combining the lots.
I second.
Motion and second on the table to find the financial and technical capacity condition has been met for the stated reason. Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Surface waters, outstanding river segments. That was so long. Okay.
Probably don't have to just read the whole thing.
Now, I'm just going to read the first paragraph. How's that? Whenever situated entirely or partially within the watershed of any pond or lake, or within 250 feet of any wetland, great pond, or river as defined in Title 38, Chapter 3, Subchapter I, Article 2B, the proposed subdivision will not adversely affect the quality of that body of water or unreasonably affect the shoreline of that body of water.
I'll make a motion that the surface waters and outstanding river segments requirement is not applicable, because no portion of the subdivision is within the watershed of any pond or lake.
I'll second.
Motion second on the table to find that this condition's been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Groundwater, proposed subdivision will not alone or in conjunction with existing activities adversely affect the quality or quantity of groundwater.
I'll make a motion that the groundwater requirement has been met, because the combining of two lots will not affect the quality or cost or quantity of groundwater.
I'll second.
Motion second on the table to find the groundwater condition has been met for stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Flood areas. Based on Federal Emergency Management Agency's flood boundary and floodway maps and flood insurance rate maps and information presented by the applicant, whether the subdivision is in a flood-prone area. That's all I'm going to read.
I'll make a motion that the flood areas requirement is not applicable, because no portion of the subdivision is located in a flood zone.
I second.
Motion is second to find a flood area conditions not applicable for stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. 4-0. Freshwater wetlands. All freshwater wetlands within the proposed subdivision have been identified on any map submitted as part of the application. Regardless of the size of these wetlands, any mapping of freshwater wetlands may be done with the help of local soil and water conservation district.
I'll make a motion that the freshwater wetlands requirement has been met, because all of the freshwater wetlands have been identified on the map submitted as part of the application.
I second it.
Motion second on the table to find the freshwater wetlands condition has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. 4-0. River, stream, or brook. Any river, stream, or brook within or abutting the proposed subdivision has been identified on any map submitted as part of the application.
I'll make a motion that the river, stream, or brook requirement is not applicable, because no river, stream, or brook is within or abutting the proposed subdivision.
I second it.
Motion and second on the table to find the river, stream, and brook requirement has been met for the state, or is not applicable for the state of reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 4-0 again. Stormwater. Proposed subdivision will provide for adequate stormwater management.
I make a motion that the stormwater requirement has been met because the proposed subdivision amendment will provide for adequate stormwater management.
I'll second it.
Motion and second on the table to find the proposed subdivision will provide for adequate stormwater management for the state of reason. Has been met for the state of reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Spaghetti lots prohibited. Want to go ahead?
I'll just make a motion that the spaghetti lots prohibited requirement is not applicable. Because no portion of the proposed amendment is located in the shoreline zone.
I'll second it.
Motion and second to find the spaghetti lots prohibited condition is not applicable because no portion of the proposed amendment is located in the shoreline zone. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. 4-0. Lake phosphorus concentration.
I'll make a motion that the lake phosphorus concentration requirement is not applicable because no portion of the amendment is located in the shoreline zone.
I'll
Wait.
second.
Right.
Shoreline, yeah.
Located in the
Shoreline.
lake shoreline zone, like of a great pond. I mean, isn't it in the shoreline
should be-
zone?
It shouldn't say shoreline zone.
It's because no portion of the proposed amendment is located, all right. If you read the paragraph, it says that it will not increase a great pond's phosphorus concentration. So I'll say that this requirement is not applicable because no portion of the proposed amendment is located within the watershed of the great pond.
No, I think that's a correct motion. Yeah,
I'll
thank
second.
you. Did you second it, Beth?
Yes.
Hold on. We have a
Should we go back
motion,
to 17? Oh, sorry, we have a motion. Okay.
we're on 18,
Yep.
right?
Yep,
But 17, yeah,
because I also said it was not, that it was in the shoreline zone, and I think.
it is in the shoreline
it's in the
zone,
shoreline zone.
right?
Am I right?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Bridgetown Road.
Hold on, let's get this
Yeah, yeah.
motion for 18 off the
18,
table,
that's
right,
okay.
first. Okay, we have a motion, and second on the table to find the lake phosphorus concentration condition is not applicable because no portion of the proposed amendment is located within the watershed of a great pond. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Yeah, aye.
Okay, 4-0. Let's go back. If it is it in the shoreline zone, John? Pardon?
Is it within 250 feet?
Is it within 250 feet of the water? Okay. Tom?
I have residential zone listed.
Okay, so we're okay with that then, with 17, is that right?
Yeah, because it's not applicable. It's not applicable because it's not within the,
What'd you find there, Lawson?
Well, the shoreline is not a zone, or it's not like a,
Yeah,
it's-
that's true, yeah.
so it's not about a zoning map issue.
I'm
It's
sorry,
about,
yeah,
The 250 feet from the high water mark. Do you know if it's 250 feet?
It's greater.
Great.
Greater.
Then we're fine.
we're fine then, okay.
Good, all right.
Thank you. We should have caught that at first glance. Impact on adjoining municipality. For any proposed subdivision, well,
Well, should we fix that?
what's that?
Go ahead.
Oh, you're saying, not applicable? It's not applicable because it's not in the shoreline zone,
Okay.
Yeah.
right?
That's accurate?
That's
Yeah,
accurate.
that's accurate, yeah.
Yeah.
Impact on adjoining municipality?
I'll make a motion that, the impact on adjoining municipality requirement is not applicable because no portion of the proposed amendment crosses municipal boundaries.
I'll second it.
Motion is second on the table to find the impact on adjoining municipality condition is not applicable because no portion of the proposed amendment crosses municipal boundaries. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0. Land subject to liquidation harvesting. And this is about timber harvesting.
I'll make a motion that that the land subject to liquidation harvesting requirements have been met, because no timber harvest on this parcel has occurred.
I will second that.
Motion and second on the table that the land subject to liquidation harvesting condition has been met because no timber harvest on the parcel has occurred. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye? 4-0 again. Okay. That's it. Now we need just a motion to approve this, right, John?
I'll make a motion to approve the subdivision amendment for the, amendment number 3 for the Traditions Richtown Road.
I will second that.
Okay. Motion and second on the table to approve the findings of fact for the Traditions Richtown Road Amendment Number 3. Any discussion? Hearing none? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
4-0. Well, thank you. That's a lot of work to just combine 2 lots under 1 ownership. Tom, are you gonna want those signed tonight?
It's up to you, I can come get them tomorrow if it's easier.
Gang's all here. It saves everybody from coming in, right, John? Can we do that tonight?
It appears he doesn't have it.
He doesn't have it. Oh,
Have a pen? Have you got a pen?
Got a pen.
something to sign.
Isn't that the
That's
large
this one,
frame?
right?
Yeah.
This is, we have pens. We have plenty of pens.
That's the plan.
Okay, this is the one. So we only need to sign one, or we need to sign all copies? I don't remember with this.
Registry only wants one.
Town wants one, registry wants one, so that's 2.
So it's the same order. Please.
Yep. You're right. And we have 2 extras here. John, you want to do something with them, or should we give them back to
Yeah.
Mr. Benson? So we just need those 2 signed then, right? Okay.
That's fine.
Oh, she's probably dated, huh? The 11th.
Yep.
There you go. I don't know what's up, John, you or Tom?
I'll just take
You,
one.
John, okay.
You don't want these?
No. I mean, be nice to have a souvenir, Tom, but, thanks. Don't want to stick around? Okay, next. Pointy Head. Findings of fact, and we have yet another buffering plan, is that correct?
Yeah.
And everybody has probably had a chance to read the letters from the abutters stating their concerns as well. Now, this could take quite a long time, and if it gets to be late, do you have any objections to us continuing it at our next meeting?
Let's see how far we get.
Okay. And Mr. Bear, if you remember, the one thing that I was expecting to see in the packets this time is, I believe, there was a lot of discussion about wetlands.
Yep.
And I know Brett Witham asked for more information on that, and we're hope maybe a little more detail on that.
Right.
I didn't see anything in the packet, so I'm wondering, were you going to present that tonight?
Yes, Mr. Moyes is going to provide you with an exhibit that hopefully will, with different colors and patterns, describe for you in more succinct terms what we believe the extent of the wetlands to be and why they're not applicable to our project. That's something that we're going to cover with Mr. Moyes, Moyes Environmental Services, and Mr. Ribble will go over the changes that we've made to the screening and buffering plan, and we'll entertain any questions or comments that you have regarding those.
Do you want to do that now, or do you want to do it as we come to things in the findings of fact? That's what you prefer? Okay.
I think that's my correct.
Lawson, you too?
Yep.
Beth, yeah, okay, we're in agreement there, okay.
I couldn't hear Mr. Chairman, what's the process?
Instead of allowing you to speak right now about those things, as we address them while we go through the findings of fact, we're going to allow you to do that. But I also saw Mr. Plaguey raise his hand, so I'm going to allow him to say his piece right now.
I'm not gonna say a piece. I heard Mr. Bear indicate that he had an additional exhibit to submit to the board. We're beyond the submission deadline that the board set, and I would just, on behalf of the people I represent, object to the board's acceptance of additional documentation from any source, including the applicant.
I appreciate that, and remember the filing schedule, Mr. Pleasant had till last Tuesday to make a filing, and we intend not to provide you with another exhibit. We couldn't file anything in response to your rules anyway. This is just a demonstrative thing. Mr. Moyes will use his voice, he will use his words. There's no point to things on the plan. You don't have to accept it as anything more than a tool to explain to you the extent of the wetland. That's all it is.
Board?
It seems to make sense to me. I mean, assuming that there's if there's new information that comes out tonight,
There's no
we'll
information
confront
on
that
that
when
exhibit.
we do, but at this point, we have it here, and we might ask for clarification from, anybody.
Okay. So John, do you think we should do the LUO one first or the site plan one first? Findings of fact. Doesn't matter to you?
Is it possible for the applicant and even Mr. Plague to also have a copy of your form as you go along?
I don't have extra copies, but perhaps our code enforcement officer who made them, or he can run upstairs and.
Is there another folder over there?
Oh, is there, yeah, is that a press folder over there? We might have one.
I don't think anything.
Oh, you all look.
We'll wait till he gets back. did you give them the site plan too?
I do,
Okay.
yeah.
I sure wish that our site plan is better. I mean, having to review both these is just ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Anybody have an opinion on which one to do first?
I feel like land use, oh, I don't know.
It seems to me like the land use has the meatier for discussion. Maybe we do it first or
I assume we do that one first, but
Well, the other view is site plans are more specific. Yeah. Ordinance, you would start with that and then broaden up to land use, but I don't know. It's gonna be a slog either way.
there's no capacity.
I almost want to do findings, site plan first now.
Yeah, I think you would start with the more specific,
Yeah.
and then go up to the broader.
Okay. It's-
I mean, everything is subject to the law. You only get the site plan if you meet.
Sand is what it is.
And there we go.
You don't have to.
You don't even get anything.
That's a good reason to start.
So do we have to go by 2020's campgrounds or 20?
Not the one that was,
21.
yeah, not the one that was approved this year. The one that was in existence until, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So that was, yeah, 20, was it 2020 or 2021 we did that? I don't remember.
One is there. And it's got, and then you've got one other. Or an extra for whatever you should use. There's 4 conduits, so for every 10 feet. It's expensive. $500. Every 10 feet.
Geez, I didn't realize it was taking that long.
Well, you had to
Probably
turn
to start the machine on, had to
That
warm
takes-
up.
Yeah, that takes forever.
Okay.
Storm switching all the stuff over. Yeah, that's why they want two, is in case, so you've got one of both. I mean, I can put one in that needs room. Just use that one provided. Some people will say, okay. I'll do one over there, holes, they'll just do underground cleanups.
Figure out what's gonna work. You can come to us with a solution to a bunch of problems. Should I start that?
Well, you mean like the other campground
The other
did?
campground did sit down and look.
Oh, but
And they
at
made,
least they did that.
and they compromised, they really did.
We end up dealing with the dispute resolution committee. Just really.
Sorry, folks, I thought it'd be quicker for him to make those copies. Apparently it takes a while to warm up that machine.
I could have gone down a little bit.
There he goes. Or here he comes. I mean.
Did you, do you have my site plan? I don't have the site plan review. You gave me back the land use ordinance, but not the site plan review. I need the site plan checklist. Thank you. I'm ready, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to adjourn. Okay. What do we decide? We're gonna do site plan first?
Sounds great.
Okay. Well, the first one on the list there is, and we need a motion on each of these, right, John? No?
Only subdivision.
Only subdivision? Okay. Seems like we did do that before, but, oh well. Anyway, utilization of the site. John's comments, the plan reflects the natural capabilities of the site. Development is being situated to preserve natural areas to the maximum extent possible. Excavation is limited in the development.
John, do you have the one that has your comments on it?
We're fussy, John, okay?
I mean, I can listen, but I don't want to read it.
Sorry. Turn that off.
Motion, anybody?
So, well, we're right at the gate, and this requirement says environmentally sensitive areas, including but not limited to wetlands,
I'd say just read that too.
steep slopes, floodplains, significant wildlife habitats, fisheries, scenic areas, habitat for rare and endangered plants and animals, unique natural communities, natural areas, and sand and gravel aquifers must be maintained and preserved to the maximum extent. So is this where we have a discussion about wetlands? The first discussion about wetlands?
Why not? Let's get it out of the way, huh? What do you think, guys?
Yeah.
Not that you're a guy.
Fine with me.
Okay, there was a lot of confusion, at least from this board member, and maybe some others, about some of the wetland talk we had the last time. We seem to have conflicting statements, and a lot of it centered around that wetland that connects to Bass Harbor, if I remember, correct?
Through the culvert?
Yeah, through the culvert, yeah. Through the culvert to Bass Harbor.
One of the, yep.
So, Mr. Bearer, did you have something
Yes.
to say about that?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Moise, if you can set yourself up. What we had pointed out to the board last time, we provided you with copies of the communications from the Army Corps of Engineers as well as Maine DEP saying that there is no connectivity regarding wetlands between the wetlands on our property and the wetlands across the road to the shore. Their view is, and the reason we bring that up is because the state ordinance that applies is word for word what your ordinance says. And there are other questions about connectivity of the forested wetlands, which we contend under your definition are not regulated wetlands, and the scrub brush wetlands. And Mr. Moise is simply going to point out where those various features are on this plan, which shows the developed site being in this area, and the various wetlands that he can describe to you as to.
Mr. Moise, if you could approach with that, I can't see it
Sure,
from this
sorry.
distance. And I doubt if anybody else can either. Maybe set up
Go
a,
toward the center, and I come behind.
Chair, do you mind if I?
oh, no, please do.
I
Yeah, too bad we don't have an easel here.
Well,
We have one, we could grab one from upstairs, actually.
I think, yeah,
Yeah,
I think you're good.
You want me to stand it, you want to put it here, or is it easier
Well, I
for you
don't
to
know.
read?
Here.
Yeah.
I could move down
Yeah,
there
there
to
you
read
go.
it, okay.
Go close to Mark for now.
Is that okay? I apologize if I misunderstood the question, but I
You guys can come back,
believe,
yeah.
remember Witham asked me last time if I would just help clarify some of the connectivity and whatever, so
Yep,
this isn't new information, it's just colored, shaded, whatever version of what we presented before, to try to help answer any questions. This area here are the wetlands that are forested wetlands, and they are contiguous to more than 10 acres off-site, this way to the large marsh.
You're pointing at that red shaded area.
Right, so that's why this is shaded here.
Yep.
And per your ordinance is a 75-foot buffer.
here we go.
There we go. Is that still closer, or?
A little closer, please. All right,
that'll-
my guide dog needs to see.
Is the gray the 75-foot buffer?
Yeah, so this is the buffer. This is the general outline of the proposed project here. This is Route 102, and then the bay is over here. This entire area here is shrub wetland.
The
and-
blue.
Right, the blue, and it's also blue shaded here, because this portion here is within the shoreline zone. Therefore, that wetland is considered a wetland of special significance. So we can't have any alteration of that at all without permit from DEP. This is a shrub wetland area here alone. There's no setback from that because this entire non-forested wetland area here is less than 10 acres. And that was the connectivity question you had about.
Well, that was the thing, the part of the
culvert
argument,
here to the bay.
yeah, that
Correct.
because it connects to Bass Harbor, it's therefore greater than 10 acres.
Correct.
And so
But-
why isn't
but
that,
Shoreline zoning and all current regulations do not connect that to make that part of 10 acres. If you have a crossing either under a road or through a culvert for jurisdictional purposes. To make contiguous 10 acres,
right,
whether it's a ditch or a culvert
Wait, sorry,
or
can you say that again?
any man-made
A little
feature.
slower, like, why is that wetland not adjacent to the?
It's the same reason it's not here, we have a ditch that connects the two wetland areas. It's a man-made feature, and that is not used for contiguous purposes. That interpretation came from DEP, both from DEP staff, John Cullen, and also from the Shoreline Zoning Coordinator of the Bangor.
and that's in
And that
these
was-
emails we have
That was
here?
provided previously.
Yeah.
in these emails.
Okay, and
This
the,
area here is a predominantly forested wetland, with a smaller shrub component.
And what's the
So-
acreage of the forested wetland plus the shrub?
These here, no, it's still not 10 acres, it's only like
Oh, I see.
0.8 acres.
1.3 plus,
Right,
or maybe 1.3 total.
this is 0.8.
That's 0.8, and then the
Yeah.
blue is something else. And then you talked about the ditch a couple of times, is
That's right here.
that's highlighted, or like
Yeah, it's right-
outlined?
It's right here, I didn't highlight it on this one, it's right there.
Okay, so it's not that little,
Not that little
There's
blue
a-
line
a
there.
blue-
That's right.
This is
that's a
actually-
wetland.
That's a wetland there, and that's a wetland there. There are two little pockets of wetlands, and like we talked about, we talked in the previous meeting, those are strictly depressions that we've mapped all
Yeah.
the wetlands, but they are not contiguous, they're not connected. The ditch that we're talking about is right here,
I see that on the drawing.
and that,
Right.
that ditch connects this wetland to this wetland. That was a very common practice to
Yep.
dig a ditch between the two and hopefully drain the whole system.
I'm curious about the proximity, on that one, it looks like just the line thickness of those two, I'm looking at this sort of linear wetland next to that one
here.
right there.
Yeah.
It looks like it touches. And I'm curious as you're mapping,
No, it's
I mean, it
not.
doesn't, and it doesn't on this, if I
No,
look
it's-
real
it is-
close.
It's a line thing, it's just to be able to
Right, but
highlight it for you.
how, when you're mapping a wetland, do you have to be able to like shuffle your feet through wet soil if you have to like step over a, I don't know,
Oh, we
a
actually
rise?
dig in the soils and see if the soils are hydric
And so how far away do two hydric soils have to be in order for that to be two separate wetlands as opposed to?
just not connected. Not physically connected. There's no, like, we do this all the time, like we're trying to, say, find the best path for a driveway, for example.
Sure.
Sometimes you find areas that are only, 15, 20 feet in between, and that's the area where we try to put the driveway through so you avoid any impact.
If it was 5 feet, would you call it one wetland?
No,
And if it was 5
if
inches,
it's not
would you call
physically
it?
connected, we do not call it a wetland. We delineate the edge of
That they'd be
Oh.
one separate from another. And if they were separated by a concrete wall, that'd be man-made, but you could separate two wetlands, presumably.
Right, we wouldn't call it the wall a wetland.
And you'd call the
Right.
two separate
Two
wetlands at
separate
that
wetlands.
point.
And we do that all the time, because lots of times you have small depressions, and again, where we have small upland areas within a wetland here and there, and lots of times that would be the path where you try to put your driveway, so you have the least amount of impact,
Right.
would be to try to hopscotch along those wetlands. So, very,
so what was the gray area again? The gray area?
just right here, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a buffer, that's a 75-foot buffer off
okay.
this wetland, because this is more than 10 contiguous acres.
Okay, so the gray is not a wetland at all?
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything has to be set back, all the
Yeah.
structures to
Right,
be
that's
set
why-
back
that's why
75 feet
This is
from
with
there.
the edge of
Yep.
the edge of the project.
So on this lot 5, or supposedly cabin 5, is that in wetland? I mean, it's highlighted that it's, well, wetland impact.
Trying to see where you are.
See this right here, it's just, see, this is marked,
Yep.
and then this
Maybe
is
the
marked.
topo lines are the best way to translate.
Yeah, I don't have the cabins on there, you just put the perimeter of the, you just put the perimeter of the project, I'm suspecting that must be right, on this corner right here, isn't it? Is it right in here?
Hard to
Yeah,
tell
I'm
with
sorry, I don't have
the
the-
top lines don't, but yeah.
The
you've
wetland,
got-
there's wetland boundary right there, so that is, I think that was accounted for.
Okay, we have this wetland here, but it's not more than 10 acres, right? That's, okay, that's.
Oh, this one here, right, this is
Okay.
the bigger one up in here.
And David, on this drawing, it looks like those are two separate red areas, but you're saying that they connect off.
Well, they connect off-site,
Got
yeah,
it.
we just,
Okay, that's,
we did the best we could to kind
Sure. I
of
just
drive through. Being
understand.
on the neighbor's property, so,
Yeah, right.
but we will clearly see that those connect, and this clearly connects
Yep.
and goes off-site to that large marsh.
Yeah, right. Great.
Why do you indicate wetland impact here in two different areas? I know you probably didn't do this
No, I had
map,
to
but
find it, I believe, but
Yeah.
yes.
right here and right there.
Yeah,
And right there, right, our proposed impact.
Yeah.
Yep, that's my understanding, so that was right,
Are you with Head
uh, Rainy,
Great. What's your name?
Rainy.
Rainy?
Yeah, Rainy, do you have that large?
Yeah.
The
Alina has,
project?
You're looking at a different one.
Here, I'm looking at
That's the
here
thing they were doing
and,
this year.
yeah, same map and up here. And then if you look
Yeah,
over here at the
it's,
legend, it says wetland impact.
yeah.
There you go. It's easier to see.
To get this, are you referring to these two areas?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, these are areas where to get the parking, and the facilities that we need in that area, and then anywhere that you disturb a wetland, as Dave can explain, that counts as, so even though there's no structure in it, we're out here where the finished grading line is, kind of the toe of that slope to build this parking area. And then in this area, really, this is, shown for path access. So even though the path is really just putting wood chips down, we still counted that as.
But what about the cabin?
cabin.
Yep, the cabin's counted as well.
Yeah. And then
You
is
see
your
the
red
red
line, what's the red dotted line?
This here,
That,
that's the 75-foot setback from
the
this wetland.
larger than 10 acre wetland.
Yep. So yeah, anything hatched in that red that you can see up here, those are the only two areas on the site where wetland impact is proposed.
I believe there were less than 4,300.
Yeah, it was, I would have to find the exact number, but it's very small, less than 4,300 square feet.
and why is 4,300 square feet significant?
Cutting, clearing, felling, anything like that is impact according to DEP. What's forested or non-forested or what have you.
So you asked for about 4,300 square feet.
Well, there's an exemption outside of the shoreline zone of a total of 4,300 square feet for minor alterations. Anything above 4,300 square feet, then you'd have to go with tier one. I think it was tier one, tier two, above 15,000, you're in a tier two and so on. That's total impact for the entire project.
Now, did the project change as you mapped out the wetlands? Did you modify your plans in light of where you identified these wetlands?
No, we were there and mapped them and that was it, we haven't gone back.
But we,
Is that your
but
question,
we-
or is it-
but we-
okay.
we moved some cabins.
Right, the project
out
has
of-
changed because I believe you moved some, they moved some.
Out of that 75 foot setback.
Yeah, some stuff out of the wetlands,
Yes,
Yes.
right.
right, from the original proposal, yes. Yeah, so that buffer, so if that's the buffer right here, that's roughly, yeah, right in this area here, so it's just forested wetland right here. With that.
By this one?
With this cabin.
Where's the
right
cabin be on
Because
that
here's the
map
step.
like that? We have that.
So this
below
red
it.
dotted line is the wetland
That should be a
setback.
70 that should be a 75
This
foot.
here.
Yes, this buffer here.
Yes.
Show me where that is on that, in the purples out there.
But this beyond is wetland, correct?
I just wanna get a
This
sense
way?
of the
That's,
scale.
yeah, that's beyond. That's-
Beyond
this
it.
is, right, out beyond it.
But all in here would be wetland.
Nope, don't think so.
It's right back in here.
Right there. Okay.
No, this is not wetland. No, this is-
I wish we
Yeah,
could
okay,
put
it's
the
basically the
cabins
same,
on
yeah.
that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah,
That was the
it's
purpose of
the
connectivity, I'm
same,
trying not to make it too busy.
hits it here and here, and it's just that little knot, yeah. All right.
Mr. Bear, any other comments there?
No, other than to remind you that your ordinance has an exception for the freshwater wetland, the forested wetlands. Your jurisdictional wetland would be 10 acres of scrub wetland, if I can use that term to differentiate it from forested wetland. And I think, as Mr. Moyes has pointed out to you, we do not have 10 acres of jurisdictional wetlands on this property. And for the reasons as we've explained, when you go through a culvert and under a road, that is not considered a contiguous wetland.
Mr. Pelleggi, do you have any comments?
No.
Thank you for inviting me.
But is
Tom.
there
I will stand
forested
by you
wet-
guys talk.
Is there forested wetland there on that map? Is there any forested wetland on there? None?
On the map?
Yes.
Yeah, this is all forested.
All
Yeah,
forested?
this is all
Okay, so
forested.
what, and,
This is forested. This is forested.
so even
This
though
is
it's
all forested
green
over
and
here.
red, it's all forested?
Yes. Yeah, the reason it's red is because this is part of that 10 more contiguous acres, so
Okay,
we have that buffer.
okay,
That's why I colored it differently, just so
okay,
you can see that was the part of the larger wetland system.
okay. So it's all forested?
Right, it goes off, right, and it goes off
Yep.
site. This is emergent marsh and shrub over in this area, then it goes part of that bigger marsh.
And the blue again was the dark
This is
blue?
shrub. This is
Okay.
all shrub through here,
Okay.
PSS.
Yeah, okay.
Polystyrene scrub means
Sure.
fresh water.
Yep. Okay.
Remember with them, did that clarify your
Well,
question?
I wanna just
Hold
make
on.
sure I understand, the applicant's, position. And I think what you're saying is that to even meet the definition of a wetland that we have jurisdiction over, it must be a true wetland in that it's not forested. And because this is all forested, therefore, it's not even something we would recognize and we would consider in how wetland is used in our ordinance.
That's our.
And to the extent it is, I suspected you would say that you've nevertheless, to the maximum extent possible, have maintained and preserved wetland with this plan. That's why I kind of asked if you, I was kind of trying to figure out where it was and whether you changed your plan. But it's interesting to me that you changed the plan, though none of this is actually meets a wetland that we'd be concerned with. So I'll just throw that out there and we'll see how the conversation goes.
Yeah, with the various cabins that were located in the gray area now, which is the setback from the forested wetlands and all, I think that we were tripping up against that 4,300 square foot mark that we would do DEP wetland approvals for.
Okay.
And as Rennie said, we're down far less than 4,300 square feet, so that we don't have any wetland impact that would be permitted by the DEP.
Okay.
The initial submission that had some cabins up here in the wetland areas, we had not completed we'd only done this area in here because that was the hot topic, if you will, the big question. We didn't have time to delineate the whole thing when we did our first visit. So we just focused on this area here of forested versus non-forested. And once we determined that this was all forested over here and it was part of a 10 or more acre, then we knew that was jurisdictional as far as your ordinance
Yep.
was. Therefore, we had a 75
And
foot
you knew
buffer.
this one was,
And therefore,
okay.
some of the cabins that were here had to be moved out.
Yeah, all right.
They didn't know that initially because we hadn't done that work.
Lawson, any other questions, Beth, for now? Okay, we'll let Mr. Pelleggi comment here.
Thank you. The blue area that Mr. Moyes has marked out on his new map, those are freshwater wetlands that if connected to other freshwater wetlands or saltwater wetlands, more than 10 acres, are regulated and subject to a setback. There is nothing within Tremont's ordinance structure that talks about man-made ditches culverts, roads, or bridges as a means of cutting off that connectivity. This board is required to apply its own ordinances. You can't, frankly, DEP's ordinances and how they apply their laws are irrelevant to the town's regulation under its own ordinance structure. I sent you a letter from Dwayne Choquette and Mark Bergeron from TRC, August 15th, 2022. And Mr. Choquette was clear, he even had his little map with the circle of the connection between Mr. Moise's blue area and the saltwater, protected saltwater wetlands, that's Bass Harbor. Respectfully, for that area alone, the blue area, within the bounds of this development project, the board has to apply a setback because you don't have a choice, because that's what your ordinance say.
Can you walk us through that?
Yeah.
And like, you help me find in the ordinance.
Yeah, take us through the ordinance.
Sure.
Where,
Sure, give me just a second.
yeah, take your time, because
I also have the letter here, if
You do?
nobody else does, yeah.
is it in,
Okay.
what's the front?
TRC.
The front is August 5th, Acadia Law Group LLC, August 15th, 2022.
So, land use ordinance, Article 11.
Give me a second, I wanna follow along with you, so. let me put in
Definitions. Start there.
You said in definitions?
Yeah.
Great. Yep,
Land use.
yep,
Wetland is a freshwater or coastal wetland. Freshwater wetland is defined as either freshwater swamps, marshes, bogs, and similar areas other than forested wetlands, which are of 10 or more contiguous acres, the blue area isn't that,
right,
or of less than 10 contiguous acres, and adjacent to a surface body water, excluding river, streams, or brooks, that its natural state, the combined surface area is in excess of 10 acres. The land is also must be inundated or saturated by surface or groundwater at a frequency and for a duration sufficient to support which under normal circumstances do support a prevalence of wetland vegetation, typically adapted for life in saturated soils. That's the blue PSS area.
yes.
It is connected and adjacent to coastal wetland, which is defined as all tidal and subtidal lands, that's Harbor, and lands with vegetation that's present that's tolerant of saltwater and occurs primarily in the saltwater or estuarine habitat. And it goes on. All areas below the highest annual tide level are coastal wetlands. And they could include also rocky ledges, sand, cobble beaches, mudflats, etc., in addition to salt marshes and salt meadows. I don't think Mr. Moisen disagrees with anything that I've read in the definitions. The issue here is that the applicant contends that the fact that this wetland area goes under a road somehow magically makes it not adjacent, not connected to the saltwater wetland. And I challenge you to find that disconnection within your ordinance structure, because it isn't there.
And so it seems like we're hinging around this concept of adjacency, and what does adjacency mean?
Yes.
And that's probably not defined in our ordinance. And so is there, if we're looking to define adjacency, is going to the state not a useful way to define adjacency? What would be a better way to define adjacency?
So it's either defined in your ordinance or you're looking for common usage, dictionary definition. It is connected. It's connected. The water runs
Yep.
from there into the ocean.
And if you're a
Just-
salamander, you can walk right through there. Cool.
It's connected.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Water flows, if we're talking about water flow, which is why we're here,
yeah.
the water is flowing from the PSS blue scrub wetland downstream through a stream that, and a wetland of special significance.
Yep.
So we go blue area, scrub wetland, into, within 250 feet of the shoreline, an area of special significance, into the coastal wetland area. Water flows directly through it. The applicant contends that it's not adjacent because it's connected, because the way that it flows there has been changed over the years, as opposed to just sort of naturally just flopping into the ocean, or being a stream.
Through the culvert, yeah.
There's nothing within your ordinance or a dictionary definition that I've found that suggests or even hints that the existence of a bridge, road, or culvert disconnects water flow. It doesn't. So that's my.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Good, thank you.
And our point, Mr. Chairman,
Okay, go ahead.
our point was that your ordinance definitions of freshwater, wetland, and forested wetlands are identical. They are word for word what the state of Maine uses in the shoreline zone. So, while Mr. Pelleggi says that we can't point to anything that says it's okay to interpret it as the DEP and the Army Corps of Engineers have interpreted that language, that we can't point to anything in your ordinance that makes that okay. The fact is that others who have reviewed the terms and conditions of words in your ordinance have concluded that under that scheme, under those words, a wetland on this side of a road, and let's remember what happens to roads. They're salted, they're sanded, a lot of crap gets thrown off the sides of those roads. That creates, as Mr. Moist mentioned at his last time we were here, there are wetlands on either side of I-95. That doesn't make I-95 a wetland. It's not contiguous to that wetland when you build a highway in between them.
What if there's a bridge? What if the highway goes over a bridge?
Well, then that's a brook or a stream.
And would you contend those would then be connected wetlands?
I guess if you went over them like that, then it would be one contiguous wetland.
And what if that bridge was low, but water was still flowing between the two?
Then water's flowing between the two. I guess I've got to know more about why that water's flowing to the man-made ditch or whatever it might be. But for your guidance, your ordinance does not say what Mr. Pelleggi wants you to conclude it says, any more than you have to interpret it now. And all we are doing is offering you the rationale that the DEP and the Army Corps of Engineers use when construing the same language. And it really, I don't want to make light of that argument, but you're talking about a small piece of wetland with a very small impact upon it. And the water that flows or doesn't flow out of that wetland underneath the road, down to the ocean. We don't dispute the fact that the ocean or the shore, the intertidal zone is also a wetland. Our point is that it is not connected to this one. If it is, then I don't know what wetland isn't connected eventually to the ocean.
Mr. Bear,
That one's
John-
not, that one's not, that one's not. But that one, like, if water doesn't flow from a wetland because it's surrounded by high spots, then it's not connected.
Right.
If water
Right.
flows, maybe it is connected.
Fair enough.
Mr. Bear, in John Cullen's reply, he says a historic ditch, or a modern ditch for that matter, that connects two separate wetlands does not make the wetlands contiguous for the purposes of the Natural Resources Protection Act. Okay, but are we talking about our ordinance and not the Natural Resources Protection Act?
The definitions that are used to define forested wetland and freshwater wetland are the same. Your ordinance copied those definitions. He was there obviously as a state regulator. He's not going to offer comment on your ordinance language, but when he offers comment on the exact same language that appears in state law, I'd ask.
But you're
him to
arguing
note
that because our language is the same as somebody else's language, then the way they define it applies to us?
I'm not saying that it applies to you, that you have to agree with that hook, line, and sinker. I'm simply saying to you that in the absence of a better definition in your ordinance that connects those two distinct wetland areas, I would urge you to follow the path that others have followed who have done this dozens.
Is that
thousands of
more,
times.
I don't know, you're suggesting we do that as opposed to using a dictionary
Well,
to define adjacency and
if
contiguousness?
you can refer to anything that you want. Also, you can refer to the dictionary if your ordinance directs you there, then feel free. I don't think that in any stretch you would ever say that something that is located more than 250 feet away from something else is adjacent.
Mr. Chairman, I think the other one important point is the fact that, again, we had ditching on the site. Other places, we see ditching in many places. The area on that side of the wetland was ditched, goes into a culvert and drains, obviously, draining that system. But there is no evidence anywhere that says that wetland went all the way to the ocean before the road was built. There's simply a ditch and a culvert that drains into the ocean.
Sorry, over again, I thought I was with you, but.
Well, there's a ditch and a culvert that drains that wetland into the ocean.
The big one, the drains.
The connectivity thing we're talking about.
That's
here.
right, so there's a ditch, the old ditch.
Well, right here.
The man-made
And then
ditch.
there's the new.
So there's a ditch right here.
Okay,
There's nothing to say that wetland, and then again, it's pretty a linear feature right there. It's been there a long time, so it's pretty difficult to tell whether that's been enhanced, ditched out,
Right.
Whatever, because it's been there a long time. There's nothing to say that wetland didn't stop on this side of the road.
right, and so maybe 10 years or 100 years ago,
Yeah, they
it wasn't.
dug a ditch, because like I said, they did that here, and it's a very common practice, you see that. They dug a ditch to drain it.
Right.
With no culvert or whatever, there's nothing that says that, and no evidence that this wetland connects, did at one time connect as a wetland to the ocean. It's just a ditch and a culvert there.
So they're really,
That's why for shoreline zoning and all that, they don't, and DEP does not use ditching or similar meaning, this connectivity is part of being, something being contiguous. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, there's another ditch too, one back farther, right?
Right.
Y-
the one that
Okay.
connects the two larger.
See, when I read through these, I was thinking of that ditch and not, so you're considering what goes down through that culvert to be a ditch too?
Correct.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the upper one too.
No, we're talking about the lower one.
Yeah,
The lower one, where the
yeah,
culvert
because
is.
that's-
I don't
yeah.
think there's really
Yeah.
an issue with the
There's a
upper one.
ditch there and a culvert, and then it drains down over the, basically
I
over
don't
the rocks.
think-
and all
You're
that.
satisfied that the ditch separates the,
Well, I also think isn't it forested, I mean, don't you get into the forested, what do we call it? Wetland exception on the upper one? Which I don't think you don't have that down below.
where's the paragraph in the ordinance about wetlands? Off the definition of it.
Hold on, it's
Not the
right here.
definition.
Right, like when we're actually, where we distinguish between the requirements for forested versus, I mean, I've got the definitions there, but.
Luo, Article 11.
It's in the definition, other than the forested. Well,
Right, but we don't, in the definitions. we
Oh,
don't
that's
say
just
what-
definitions, yeah.
Like, what are the performance standards that are applicable? That's what I wanna find, to see, like.
well, the one we're talking about right now is utilization of the site, and whether.
That, right, okay, so that's the one where like, are wetlands impacted?
Yeah, it has the impact to the extent maximally possible,
Environmentally sensitive areas, including wetlands, must be maintained, preserved to the maximum extent.
And what's interesting on this particular question, are we even, if you're talking about the lower, call it lower ditch,
Sure, yep.
are there any impacts at all? Does the park?
Yeah, the forested areas, right, there's two. Or parking and.
Oh, for
we
park,
don't have
okay,
those.
okay,
This is,
okay,
uh,
all right, yeah.
This is an impact sheet that's approximately right in this
Right,
area.
okay, they both
Yeah,
are.
This
Okay,
one right
all
here,
right.
forested.
Yeah.
So are they preserved to the maximum extent? Could you have built a 20, whatever it is, 10 parking, 10 space parking lot someplace else?
Yeah, why do you feel, did you feel the need to actually encroach on that fresh wetland area?
I'd ask for anything.
So theoretically, it should be a buffer there.
Yeah, our interpretation is that there's no setback required from that wetland, and where DEP and Army Corps allow up to 4,300 square feet of disturbance, we're only at 2,273, so we're well below that threshold. It's a common practice in Maine. There's a lot of tight sites and a lot of wetlands, and you gotta get your development in where you can, stay within the regulations.
So, I totally buy that, and I think from like a design standpoint, I think that's right. You probably want to answer this to the attorney, but you can as the engineer. What would preserving the wetland to the maximum extent have looked like? Like, do you feel like you preserved the wetland to the maximum extent? So you have,
Just, our contention is that there are no jurisdictional wetlands on this property. Okay, either because they're forested wetlands outside the definition of wetlands in your ordinance, or they're less than 10 acres, which we contend to be the case with those that are towards the front of the lot, which our opponent would like you to connect by way of a ditch from the road down to the ocean.
so you think that when the ordinance says environmentally sensitive areas, including wetlands, must be maintained and preserved to maximum extent? You're suggesting that that doesn't apply?
They're not jurisdictional wetlands.
That, like, when we say wetlands here, that doesn't.
That's our contention, that's correct.
Mr. Chair,
I can't see, yes.
somebody on the board asked about the setback requirement, that's,
yeah.
5D3.
What is it?
5D3, and that's
In
where
the
the,
land use ordinance, right?
yeah, that's where the gray shaded area came from, same provision. The 75-foot setback that's imposed by the
And
ordinance.
we would have gotten, we're sort of doing, we would have gotten there when we got the site plan, but I think.
Thanks, I forgot who it was.
I'm gonna leave this here.
Yeah, yes.
Or maybe
Maybe move it just back a little bit.
Can see Dan, at least anybody else.
Or move it over there,
Right in
yeah.
front of that first row there.
You can just set it right.
Yeah, over there, do it over there, yeah.
Okay.
Keep going.
Do we have we don't have a copy of that plan,
Well,
no.
I just want to be able to see Mr. Moyes there. That's fair.
Should we have a copy of that plan, John?
You're gonna use it to make a decision.
We do. There's no new information on there than is what's on Mr. Moyes'
Correct.
June 27th?
Correct.
Does that sound like the most recent? Yeah. It's prettier than this, but it's the same information.
That's what we presented last time. It just, remember with another question about clarification, so that was the reason for the color and the shade.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it.
So we got off to a roaring start. What do you folks think?
So the adjacent
Yes.
piece, Mr. Moyes?
Yes.
Yeah, when he talked about the fact that, because I was thinking about, look, just because there's a culvert there doesn't mean, at least my first thought was, well, maybe the water always flowed through there,
Right.
and if so, then, that's an issue. Then you get to whether, do we look at the DEP, or do we look at how we interpret it? But his point about, we don't know, I don't know, like 100 years ago, maybe,
Quite a change in elevation.
yeah, maybe the water didn't flow there, and somebody did dig it out to try to, at some point, because there was evidence that that's happened already. I mean, somebody at some point put ditches in there,
Yeah.
so that's what people did.
Sure.
And so on that one, that was an interesting point, that maybe that was not, the water didn't flow through there. We don't know that.
But,
And then my fallback is, so I'm not convinced that that's a Jason. I'm not, because if it is, then it makes a lot of land. Makes a lot of land.
Yeah, so that
You know,
wetland must connect to around here.
And so I understand why, at some level, the regulators said, we're not gonna do that, because it creates, you'd be in every one of these things, you'd be in this sort of factual morass, trying to go back 150, 200 years to figure out whether it was natural or someone put it there. And you could just never figure it out. And so I'm not convinced that that's adjacent. I think even if it is, I recall they did sort of move things around when they discovered that there were, some issues. And if you look at the overall size of the project and then the pieces that touch upon the wetlands, it's pretty small. And, and it's not a requirement in the ordinance that, it's not a bright line, you cannot do it.
Right.
It's to the maximum extent possible. So I would find, I don't know, there might be another, I don't know if there's another.
Sure.
We get somewhere where we actually have to decide, you know.
I do think there's something in the Luo too.
Yeah, maybe there is, but for me, either way, they've probably done it. Either it doesn't apply.
Yep.
I'm not convinced it applies, or even if it does, I think that they made some changes. They generally are under what I understand to be the DEP sort of threshold for disturbing wetlands. They're under that, and so,
So, part of your sort of argument or assessment is that they're not contiguous because in the past they might, that ditch and the culvert is man-made, therefore it might not have.
yeah,
You
it's
know,
also interesting that it doesn't use the
okay.
word contiguous, right? It uses the word adjacent, which
I think it's
is,
contiguous and adjacent.
Does
The
it?
definition. Contiguous acres and adjacent. Oh, I see, it's less than 10 acres, adjacent to a service area. Correct.
which
That's interesting.
I did
You're
look
right,
up that
it's
word.
adjacent.
It's different, it's not,
You look up adjacent?
I looked it up.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. It's something that's connected by a long sort of stream adjacent. Like, it doesn't feel like adjacent is like,
Next to.
I'm next to you.
Yeah, right.
Like if I've
Red
got
Lawson
a
are
piece of
adjacent.
string that connects us. I don't know if that means we're adjacent, but so.
Just to go to your point about the ditch maybe not used to being there. Also, like, it's possible that there, like, some of the high points didn't used to be there, and that in the past there could have been connectivity. Now I'm going east. Like, if that's just a 10-foot separation, it's hard to tell at this stage if that's not like 5 trees and a bunch of brush that was felled intentionally and built up 50 years ago to separate the two wetlands.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
so maybe those are connected to the large 10-acre forest area.
Frankly, I have a hard time believing that didn't originally flow into Bass Harbor one way or another.
but we
I
don't
mean,
know that,
kids-
but I understand the point. I understand that's why a regulator would say, no, we're not gonna look at it, because you don't know. And you'd have to
Right.
go back and try to
Yep.
find that out historically, and there's no record, you'd be.
But I'm not sure
So-
that should matter, or whatever. I think we need to look at it as right now, is it adjacent?
Well,
So really the question here is, does this connect to Bass Harbor? And if it does, it becomes more,
Not connected. Is it
okay,
adjacent to that?
adjacent, okay, yeah.
I think those are different. Yeah.
And I think when you, as soon as you put any kind of man-made structure in, you just, it throws the analysis out of the water because you don't know whether, you can't determine whether that was natural, that was sort of the natural state of things, or that was done through human intervention, in which case it doesn't count. You know, you wouldn't.
Yeah, and maybe, you know, hopefully whatever was built then was done according to the laws and regulations at that time. But today,
Which didn't exist, right?
but today, like, we have to address, like, what is the wetland right now? And I think that Mr. Moyes has made it clear that the wetland stops. As you go west towards Bass Harbor, the wetland stops before you get to the ditch, before you get to the culvert.
That would be the theory, that at some point that stopped, or we just
No,
don't
I'm saying
know.
it stops now.
Well, yes,
Right.
yes.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
The ditch is not a wetland.
it does not
According
make
to-
it adjacent.
Mr. Moyes, is that right? Okay.
That- I know it's not the, but I that, it all kind of makes sense to me, you know, otherwise, like I said, I think you'd have a lot of culverts, or, you know, we would change fundamentally a lot of.
Right. Mr. Pelleggi, do you think that a ditch is a wetland?
Do I think under your ordinance that a
Right.
ditch is a wetland? It depends on the soils that are in the ditch.
Okay.
But yeah, sure,
It could be if it was, had hydric soils and,
sure.
yeah.
I know TRC takes the position, Mr. Choquette took the position that it's a ditch.
Could it?
We
is
didn't
it
have the
culvert?
opportunity to do soil testing.
That's right.
We had to rely on.
And I'm not asking you to speak specifically to this one, which you have now. Do you think a culvert could be a wetland?
I think absolutely the culvert is a wetland. I think it's, water's been flowing through that area forever. Well, the fact that they put some metal in the way above the hydric soils doesn't change the essential nature of it.
Geez, how do we know that though? How do you,
You think the road's hydric soil
I don't know.
Doesn't go over the road, except in flood.
goes under some of the soil?
How do we know that? At one time, I did raise the question of having a peer review on this, and that's what I was shot down.
Well, but you'd never, I don't think you could ever determine that. You'd never, I don't know. Google Earth didn't exist for 18, you know.
No, it didn't. So what do you want to do?
I'm gonna make a motion that,
We don't need a motion,
well,
right, John?
I would say it's met.
I
Sure,
know
we
that-
don't need a motion on this.
I know the town's not represented, the board's not represented, but I think you're making a mistake if you're not doing motions.
I think we should do.
I think we should need to do motions too. I mean, that's what,
Like,
yeah.
especially
We did it for the subdivision thing, okay?
Right. Especially because if we end up finding anything that's not met.
Yes,
we'll be able to point
we,
specifically
yes,
to that
yeah.
moment in this
And
meeting.
why, our reasons for finding that. Yes, I agree. Yes, motions, please. Brett?
Since you have broken mid-stride here, and my partner has pointed out something to me, I think you need to look at the definition also of water body, because when you look at the definitions of wetlands and forested wetlands, you see the embedded in there is the word water body, and ocean is not a water body, by your definition. When you look at the definition of water body, it's not there, it does describe other water bodies or lakes.
Any great pond, river, or stream.
Which is a little frustrating because the definition of freshwater wetland says excluding river, stream, or brook. But not great pond. So I guess it really is great pond.
Yeah.
And that's what's left over.
As is the premise of our argument, that you should consider how the DEP interprets it, because your ordinance is word for word stolen from the DEP regulation.
I've heard you make that argument. Mr. Pelleggi?
Yeah,
Mark?
Yeah, go ahead.
That part of Bass Harbor meets the definition, your ordinance definition of coastal wetland about as well as anything possibly could, and it's more than 10 acres.
Just not adjacent to.
Well, that's a different argument about whether the ocean's a water body. It's, the fact is, it's a coastal wetland.
Brett, you were gonna make a motion, but it looks like you're looking stuff up and doing some thinking here.
I'm trying to figure out how to look up water body. I think it's 2 words.
In the definition.
We have a definition for water body.
Page 81 of 85. It's one of the last definitions.
Like we in the Luo or?
Well,
Luo,
if you
yeah.
look up coastal
Page
wetlands,
81 on that.
And there's coastal wetland too, yeah. Like,
and that
Yeah,
includes
yeah.
any marsh,
Yeah.
swamp, marsh, bog, beach.
I think there's a way to make this motion without even, let's see here.
without even.
I'm gonna make a motion that the utilization of the site requirement has been met, in that the plan reflects the natural capabilities of the site. The development being situated to preserve natural areas to the maximum extent possible. Excavation is limited in the development. And that the development has included appropriate measures for the protection of environmentally sensitive areas and resources.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table to find that the utilization of the site requirement has been met because the plan reflects the natural capabilities of the site. Development is being situated to preserve natural areas to the maximum extent possible. Excavation is limited in the development, and that the development includes protection for environmentally sensitive areas and resources. Is that basically what you said?
Close enough.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Beth?
No.
No?
That was a no?
Yep.
That took, what time is it here? That was 1.
What?
I mean, well, we'll see.
I don't know what they're
I'm
saying.
not gonna speak about the relative complexity of that one compared to the next
Yes.
one, but.
Adequacy of road system.
But
Project will increase traffic by an estimated 7 peak hour trips. Harbor Drive has adequate capacity for the increased traffic flow. And remind me where the trip calculations are. I believe they're in this book, right?
Yep, correct. It's in the first submission that was made. There's a letter that addresses trip generation.
Traffic generation for Pointy Head done by Hedifine, correct?
Correct.
John, I don't know where you got this number 7 in here, or 7 trips. Yeah, because it says in here, peak hour traffic is calculated to have an estimated increase of 12 trips per hour. Right? Page 2 of 2? Huh? So it should be 12, correct? Okay. Motion, anybody, or questions?
I'll make a motion that the adequacy of road system requirement has been met. The project will increase traffic by an estimated 12 peak hour trips, and Harbor Drive at adequate capacity for the increased traffic flow.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion and second on the table to find the adequacy of the road system conditions have been met because the increased traffic by estimated 12 peak hour trips and Harbor Drive has adequate capacity for the increased traffic flow. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye, yep, okay, 4-0. Okay, access into site. Well, we know that from the first time we first go around with this, that there were some issues with the fact that it's not a conforming use going through the Commercial Fisheries Maritime Activity Zone. And we know Mr. Bear then sent a letter to the Attorney General's office asking him about a road and whether that would be allowed in through that zone. And the Attorney General did say yes, correct?
Yes,
Mr. Bear?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I didn't go directly to the AG's office. I went to the person from DEP who had offered an opinion the first time this application was before you, and it turned out that her name's Dawn Hurd, and she had relied on the wrong version of your ordinance, and when we pointed that out to her, she kicked it up to the AG's office. They generated the letter on their own.
I see. So what makes you think that that's a road and not a driveway?
I'm relying on the provisions of your ordinance.
Okay, excluding driveways. Let's do driveways.
Well, I'm not sure what you're asking me, Mr. Chairman. Is there a distinction in your?
Well, there is, because if it is a road, you have to meet the standards for a road, and I don't believe that does, because minimum right-of-way is 30 feet. I think that's only 10 feet.
Why would I have to meet the standards of a road?
Because you're saying it's a road. Any road not requiring acceptance by the town shall be designated and designed and constructed to the following standards, and minimum right-of-way 30 feet.
I'm not, what are you reading from? Is it something that I wrote to you?
No.
No, it's in our ordinance,
Okay.
land use ordinance, page 43, I.
I guess I'm not asking you to accept the road, nor do I think that it becomes a road because it is something that leads to a campground. I was looking more for the definition of your, do you have the letter from the AG's office, Mr. Chairman?
I have it somewhere.
That you were just reading, you just had it in here.
I think it's in, isn't it in
No,
here?
it's in the April 19th submission from Reverend Winchell.
April 19th, okay.
Three-quarters of the way back, towards the end.
We see the response to the letter from the butters.
It's the February 5, 2021 letter sent to me by Caleb Elwell, the Assistant Attorney General.
Lawson, you're saying it's in the April 19th thing from Reverend Mitchell?
There-
The last page of that is the wetland map. and then right before that is a two-page.
First page of that one. Oh.
I have it on memo dated April 18th.
Oh, okay, yeah, the Attorney General office is writing a reference to you, okay. See, they call it a pre-existing driveway,
Correct.
okay.
And it allows for the passage of vehicular traffic on existing roads and trails. I think that, driveway's gonna follow some of the road and trails. But you use the term road on occasion, it's certainly inartful of me, obviously, we've never submitted any plan with any intentions of building a road and utilizing the existing driveway.
Now, John, should the road be up 30 feet for a project such as this?
It's up to the planning board.
And it is 10 feet, right? Right now? About 10 feet.
You can't get two cars by there, coming and going,
Yeah.
can you?
Well, I don't know.
But it,
What's your question?
How
Can
wide
you-
is the driveway?
how wide is the driveway? Can two cars, I mean,
It's 10 feet.
come one and come go?
We've arranged for there to be, it was described to you by Alina at one of our previous meetings. If you look at the top of the driveway, away from 102 up to toward the house, it's widened out there for a car to wait if there's an oncoming car. You see that on the plan?
Yep.
Aaron?
So two cars cannot pass on part of that driveway.
Right,
Yep.
That-
Nor do they need to.
well,
It's a campground. People are
according
gonna be
to-
coming in and out at the same time.
if you read the
You,
comment,
you could say something?
No,
Oh, it's a, go ahead.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to, I know there was an issue as to whether the driveway, you know, because of the zone it was in,
Yeah,
but I don't know where this is going, so I'm just listening.
Yeah, that,
before we found it was non-conforming, okay, or, because the inn, its use as an inn was, had lapsed, I don't know, a long time ago, okay, within whatever it was. And that was the issue there. And since then, Mr. Bear wrote to whoever, who then wrote to the Attorney General because they had looked at the wrong part of our ordinance, I guess.
but the access to the campground is through the commercial fisheries marine activity zone.
Yep, maritime activities, yep,
Yeah, maritime, yeah.
yep.
It's not conforming.
well, if you need to look at your table of uses that was got in the land use ordinance and use number 2, commercial fishery maritime zone, motorized vehicle traffic on existing roads and trails, yes.
Yeah. But it doesn't say driveway, does it?
No, it doesn't. It says roads or trails. Don't know if it's intended to.
To me, it's not a road because it doesn't meet the standards.
Right?
I'll give you that it's a driveway, but it doesn't say that a driveway is allowed through that zone.
So you're taking the position that if trails and roads are allowed, driveways aren't? That's bizarre.
Well, there's two definitions in the book, one of a driveway and one of a road, and they're different in the ordinance.
The legal question 3 years ago was whether it was permissible to pass over the CFMA district.
Okay, I wasn't here 3 years.
Yeah. So really, would you agree that this is a change of use of a non-conforming structure, Mr. Bear?
I don't think we're changing the use of the structure that's there at all. We're building something else on the property that is allowed. And the structure's not non-conforming.
Anybody else have thoughts on this?
The site plan review ordinance requirement includes paragraph 7 that says that access ways must be designed and have sufficient capacity to avoid queuing of entering vehicles in any public street.
Yep. What page is that? I'm sorry.
On 13 of 24.
Yep.
Paragraph 7. So here's my question to the applicant is, how did the design of this project avoid queuing of entering vehicles on Harbor Drive?
Well, let me go to the video.
Yeah.
We did look at that when we did our peak generation trip calculations. If you have 11 in the peak hours, that's a weekend day when the most people would be coming and going, it was 11.1. We round up to be conservative. We feel like every estimate we use in that with the IT manual to kind of come up with that 11.1 vehicles in and out in an hour. That's not a lot. It's not likely those are gonna be within the same 2-minute span. Not that it would take someone 2 minutes to drive down the short driveway. But as you come to the site, the sight lines are good, it's pretty clear and open, and exiting vehicle has no trouble seeing someone coming in. So it is the exiting vehicle that has the pull-off here's responsibility to yield to an incoming vehicle. That would not, that right there in itself would prevent, if you have, of those 11, you just put one in, one out, you'd have only 9 more. It's not very likely you're gonna have trips stacking on top of trips that this driveway couldn't handle.
Do you know the approximate length of the driveway from the shoulder of the road up to the place where exiting car would wait?
It's about 320 all the way up.
320?
Yeah.
So you could probably put at least half a dozen cars there if you had to, so they're not queuing out onto the road.
Exactly, yeah.
We're putting half dozen cars in the parking lot.
No, I'm saying that if a half dozen cars all coming at the same time, that they still, and if one was trying to exit, we could have, well, 30's one, you could have 10, you could have 11, 12, more than we predict in a given hour. There's 320 feet of driveway.
saying if all those trips came in
Right,
at the
but
same
if
time.
somebody's leaving,
Yep.
and they come out and want to turn left, and there's a couple cars, in front of them, and then someone else wants to come in, they want to turn right. No, because there's a car waiting, sitting in the driveway, trying to turn left. There's a car coming who wants to turn right, can't turn into the driveway. And there's a car sitting there waiting.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
that car stops and waits, and then two cars behind them show up. Isn't that queuing?
I don't really think that that's queuing, I think that's waiting for your turn at an intersection.
What do you think queuing is?
I think queuing is when you're in line at McDonald's and you're waiting, you're all waiting for you to go there, you go up, you go up, you go up. That's queuing. What do you think it is?
I think that queuing and waiting in line at the same time, and that if you're stopped and somebody's in front of you, it looks to me like the ordinance says that it should be designed to avoid queuing, and it looks to me like, I don't know, I'm not convinced
What's
that,
it?
that you avoid.
Yeah, they got a road opening permit from the state and everything.
Wide.
Yeah, it's
Well,
wider,
see, if
yeah.
you're talking Main Street Bar Harbor in July, that's a different scenario
Sure,
than,
yeah.
because you have different, avenues.
Have you ever been over here in the summer?
I agree, it's not, I agree that it's not gonna be like Cotton Street,
Yeah.
totally, but I'm not convinced that it avoids queuing.
Yeah, I'm with you, Lawson.
Which, the ordinance doesn't say like, avoid wicked bad queuing like on the street that nobody likes. It says avoid queuing.
So in your interpretation of the ordinance, there is no provision for a vehicle to have to stop to make a turn. They should, regardless of the scenario, be able to drive exactly where they're going.
In a project like this, it'd be nice if at least two cars could drive in the driveway at the same time. One could drive out while the other drives in at the same time. Otherwise, you're gonna end up with what Lawson says, queuing out on 102, and that's a bad spot. People come over that hill flying, and next thing you know, we have a rear-end accident. I'll take a motion on this, Lawson, if you wanna make it. Otherwise, I will. Or Beth, or Brett.
I mean, we've bounced around, I'm not
Yep.
sure,
Go ahead.
I don't have one to make yet.
Yeah, okay, I thought Lawson, he was thinking, I thought he was gonna say
Oh,
something.
no, I'm definitely thinking,
Okay.
I'm not quite sure where to say anything, but I'm definitely thinking. If the access to the site requirement is about making sure that vehicular access to and from the development must be safe and convenient, and it goes through 8 ways in which that, it gets more specific. I don't know, it does feel like a pretty strict interpretation of the ordinance to suggest that any queuing is too much queuing. I don't know.
I'm gonna make a motion that the access into the site condition has not been met because the entrance and large part of that driveway is only wide enough for a single vehicle to pass, and it raises safety conditions, safety, to me, it's an issue of safety. It's not a good motion, is it? Let me start over again. I make a motion that the access in the site condition has not been met because of the driveway being only is not wide enough to allow 2 cars to pass at the same time, and could cause queuing on Route 102, and even on the driveway itself, 102A, I guess I should say, and there are some safety issues that could result from that.
I would second that.
Okay, motion and second on the table. Any discussion? Okay, I'm gonna call for a vote unless somebody, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye? Aye?
Aye.
4-0, okay. Okay. Access way location and spacing. Entrance, exits exist and are located more than 50 feet from the closest intersection. Yeah, the closest intersection would be what, Bass Harbor Woods Road? Yeah, and that's more than 50 feet away, right?
Yeah. It says 180 feet.
Yep, there we go. So, should be an easy one.
I'll make a motion that the access way location and spacing requirement has been met because the entrance and exit is located more than 50 feet from the closest intersection, yes. Yep.
Second.
Motion and second on the table to find the access way location spacing condition has been met for state of reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye, 4-0. Internal vehicular circulation. Proposed sites provides for safe movement through the site. Tremont Fire Chief does not see an issue with access. This kind of comes back to the other one, doesn't it? I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, but if there was a fire and people were trying to get out at the same time the fire truck was trying to get in,
Well, there's that too, yeah.
I think it sort of assumes people are just not capable of moving out of the way, though. I mean, you can drive on the lawn. It's interesting.
If the fire chief has said that if he can get in, you know.
And I think one of the things he was asked, though, could he get in up to all the cabin sites close enough with hoses?
And so that's why they built the,
And I think he was also asked, you know, whether he could get around and make these turns, which wasn't a problem.
yeah, and they've got the sub-base stabilized fire lane.
what did he say?
He had no problems.
He had no
He thought
problem,
he was okay, yeah.
And we have that in an email or something?
Yeah, we have something from Keith. Don't ask me where it is.
Shouldn't be a problem since there's no fire pits and.
Yeah, and non-residential projects that will be served by delivery vehicles must provide a clear route for such vehicles with appropriate geometric design to allow turning and backing for a minimum of 2 vehicles.
February 28th submission has the letter from,
Oh, I just had that.
Yeah. I know what it says, I'm gonna look it up.
yeah, letter from Keith.
Where it is now.
Get a guts disposal truck up there.
Yeah, I could get a packer up there.
I'll make a motion that the internal vehicular circulation requirement has been met because the proposed site provides safe movement to the site and the fire chief has indicated approval.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Motion and second on the table to find the internal vehicular circulation condition has been met for stated reason. Any discussion?
I'll just note that a requirement here as well is on the applicant to minimize filling, grading, excavation, and other similar activities. And limit development to the natural contour of the land and whatnot. I'm just making a comment.
What, to allow the fire truck in?
Nope.
This is just for a fire truck, though. This is just for any vehicles.
Any
in the- Yeah, any vehicles, yeah. The fire truck was a safety consideration, of course. Okay. Is that it? I'll call for a vote. Hearing no more comment. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
4-0. Parking layout and design, parking area existing and proposed is adequate for use. Parking for cabins, platforms meets standards of section 6.8. 1 space per campsite, 1 for every 2 employees. How many employees, Mr. Bearer, again? 4? Is that correct?
I don't know how many spaces we have on the plan.
It's map, I know we've seen the map.
Yeah, I think we have it.
One parking space for every 3 employees is what, I guess that's just a summary.
So we've got at least 19, and we have 15 sites and 3 employees.
Great.
Am I missing something? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, okay. We okay there, guys? Take a motion if we are.
I'll move that the requirement for parking layout and design is met, and that the parking area existing and proposed is adequate for the development, including for employees and campsites.
Second, somebody?
I'll second.
Motion second on the table to find the parking layout and design requirement has been met because it's adequate for use. Parking for cabins, platforms meets standards of section 6.8, 1 space per campsite, 1 for every 2 employees. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Okay, 4-0. Pedestrian circulation. Pedestrian ways within development are appropriate to type and scale of development. Cart paths throughout connect parking area sites and bathroom facilities. Should be an easy one.
Yep.
Make a motion, Beth?
Well, I move that they have met the requirements for pedestrian ways within the development. And they're wide enough for cart paths and connect parking areas and sites and bathroom facilities.
We have a second?
Second.
Motion and second on the table to find the pedestrian circulation requirement has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? 4-0. Stormwater management. Stormwater drainage plan provided, stormwater management report from GF Johnson Incorporated provided. So we did have a peer review on this, and Greg had no problems with the stormwater management plan, if you recall.
I'll make a motion that the stormwater management requirement has been met, because the plan addresses concerns and has been vetted by Greg Johnson.
Second.
Motion second on the table to find the stormwater management requirement has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Okay, 4-0. Erosion control, proposed building sites and cart paths harmonize with existing topography and conserve desirable surroundings to the fullest extent possible. Filling, excavation, earth moving will be kept to a minimum. Parking is on level surface.
I make a motion that the erosion, let me just. Yeah, I'll make a motion that the erosion control requirement has been met because the building sites and cart paths harmonize with existing topography and conserve desirable surroundings to the fullest extent possible. And building, excavation, and earth moving is kept to a minimum, and the parking is on a level surface.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second on the table to find the erosion control requirement has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Unanimous again. Water supply. Existing well to be used, planning board waive requirement for test results based on the fact the state of Maine will require adequate, well, this is copied off a last one, I think. Yeah, okay. Existing well is to be used. I see you did include some information on a drawdown test was done, Mr. Bear.
Yeah, we did that because I know when we were here at the last meeting and for the month or two before that, we were finding ourselves in, in arid situations, drought situations, and we wanted to know for our own benefit that we have an adequate supply. Where we got to that conclusion beforehand was to know how much water would be used based upon the HHG 200, or the septic system design standards for campgrounds, and it was not much. It was 1,000 or 1,200 gallons a day, and as you can see, when we had to recharge the well check, it was 12 gallons plus per minute. So we can recover what we use in less than 2 hours.
And of course, you're well aware that any approval of this application by this board would require you to first get something from the Maine drinking water program, right? Yeah. Any questions, discussion on this first, board? I'm trying to find.
I'll make a motion that the water supply requirement has been met because the development is using an existing well that has adequate yield, adequate flow rate.
Second.
Getting late. Motion and second on the table to find the water supply condition has been met for stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 4-0. Sewage disposal. Proposed septic design from Bill to Bell meets the state plumbing code and requirements of the proposed development.
I'll make a motion that the sewage disposal requirements have met because the proposed design by Bill Bell meets the state plumbing code requirements of the development.
Second.
Okay, motion and second on the table to find the sewage disposal condition has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? 4-0. Utilities, underground power to be installed between existing panel and residence and proposed service buildings. Cabins and tents are solar only. That's solar lighting, correct? And it is shown on the drawings, the site plan. We know that because we asked for that.
Although the underground power, I think, goes all the way to the pump station, not just the service station.
Yeah, they'd have to have electric power to the pumps.
Yeah. Um, We're just gonna. I'll make a motion that the utility requirement has been met. Because the Plan C2 includes underground utilities, that are screened from view.
Second.
Motion and second on the table to find that the utilities or conditions been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? 4-0. Natural features. Natural features preserved insofar as practical, minimal tree removal proposed, no extensive grading or filling proposed, wooded buffer and fence varying in height from 18 to 16 feet proposed for abutting residences. That's not quite right, because the fence only goes a short distance.
What are we reading from?
M.
I just was reading the comments that were prepared for us here. I said
Yeah, I think that I would just,
I would strike the
I'll
buffer.
strike the last.
Yeah, the buffer. Yeah, that doesn't even,
Buffering, which is not applicable in this.
yeah. So in the motion, please do that.
Cross out the last line.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's in there.
Where do we take up the,
It's interesting, because the requirement does say that the planning board shall refer to the LUO buffering standards.
if you
It's
don't,
true.
if you don't do it there, where will,
For buffering?
yeah, where would the
It's
buffer-
also in the
In the
LUO
LUO
too.
Oh.
Yeah,
Over here, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Buffering, I feel like the purpose of this requirement is
It's
about
about
preserving
preserving the
existing
natural-
things
yeah.
that are
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
And so I'll make a motion that the natural features requirement has been met because per the landscape buffering plan, the vegetative buffer plan, existing vegetation is to remain. The disturbance of soil and, is minimized throughout the project.
Second.
motion is second on the table to find the natural features, conditions been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? 4-0. Groundwater protection. Proposed use is 948 gallons per day, less than the 2,000 gallons per day specified in the requirement.
I'll make a motion that the groundwater protection requirement has been met because the, proposal, utilizes less than 2,000 gallons a day.
Second.
Motion is second on the table to find the groundwater protection conditions been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? 4-0 again. Water quality protection. No storage or discharge of materials so as to contaminate groundwater not located within watershed of a body most at risk from development as identified by DEP.
I mean, this is kind of about like storage of bad stuff.
And this was a boatyard.
This is a boat, that's what I was thinking, I read this is like a boatyard,
That we want to like dig into it, but
it's a boatyard provision.
if this is like a campground that has toxic stuff, there's a different issue going on, but,
a motion that the water quality protection requirement, has been met because there's no storage or discharge of materials so as to contaminate groundwater. And it's not located within the watershed of a body of water and most at risk for development.
Second.
Motion and second on the table to find the water quality protection requirement has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? 4-0. Hazardous special and radioactive materials.
Make a motion it's not applicable, there's no hazardous materials on site.
That's true, right, Mr. Bear?
That's true.
Okay, thank you.
Second that.
Motion second on the table to find the hazardous special and radioactive materials condition is not applicable because there's no storage of those materials on the site. All in favor? 4-0. Shoreland relationship development will not adversely affect the water quality of shoreline of adjacent harbor.
I'll make a motion to find this requirement met because the development will not adversely affect the water quality or shoreline of adjacent harbor.
I'll second that.
Motion and second on the table to find the shoreline relationship has been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? 4-0 again. Technical and financial capacity, letter from applicant's financial institution has been provided. Yes, we have that.
Make a motion this requirement's been met because of the letter from the applicant's financial institution.
Second.
Motion and second, find the technical and financial capacity condition has been met because there's a letter from the applicant's financial institution. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? 4-0. Solid waste disposal. Proposed use will not affect capacity for adequate disposal of solid waste. The project will use a dumpster as shown on plan.
I'll make a motion that the proposal, the solid waste disposal requirement's been met because there's a dumpster shown on the plan.
Second.
Motion is second on the table to find solid waste disposal conditions been met for the stated reason. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? 4-0. And historic and archaeological resources.
I'll make a motion that, the historic and archaeological resources, requirement is not applicable because no portion of this segment of this site contains historic or archaeological resources.
Second.
Did you say not applicable? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
not
Okay.
applicable.
Okay. Well, we have a motion, yeah, I'm sorry. I was looking for something else. There's supposed to be a U and I don't have it on my,
Floodplain management, it's right there.
Next page?
There you go. There you go.
okay. Well, okay, let's vote on this side. Historic and we have a motion second on the table. The historic and archaeological resources condition is not applicable for the stated reason. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? 4-0 again. Yeah, either you fell off or I got shortchanged.
Don't take it personal.
Yeah, I was wondering that John, he's always after me. Floodplain management. No portion of the project is located in the flood zone. Not applicable then, I guess? Take a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion that the floodplain
Can I say-
management requirement is not
Yeah,
applicable because no portion of the project is located within the flood zone.
A second.
Motion is second on the table to find the floodplain management condition is not applicable because no portion of this project is within a flood zone. All in favor? Austin? Oh, he's looking.
I was looking at, do you know where the flood zone is, flood line is? Is there a? I don't see it. Ron, maybe,
Yeah, I believe it is on there.
and that's the dotted line, which is the highest annual timeline.
there, that's zoning.
It's,
Just,
Probably it's setback, that's that's shore, 75 foot shore zone setback. And there's gotta be a flood line, right? I mean, that's actually a question.
John, we have a floodplain map, right? Or flood zone map of some
Yeah,
kind?
I verified it's not in the flood zone.
John verified
Alright,
it.
that's satisfying, I'm satisfied with that. Okay, great.
Okay, let's call for a vote then again. Okay, all in favor? 4-0, okay. Mr. Bearer, it's getting late. Do you have any objections if we do the LUO findings at our next meeting?
Should we finish this? Okay,
We'll get there, buddy.
okay.
I'd like a little direction. Obviously, you kind of knocked us for a loop here with this suggestion that our access is inadequate because there's nothing in the record to suggest there will be queuing, don't know how many traffic cars will be an hour, things of that nature. So, I'm just wondering if what do we do? I mean, we've come so far in getting so much done, and it seems like, quite frankly, nitpicking would be the best term I could find for this. Is there room for us to provide you with a revised plan that might address your concerns? As Mr. Witham has pointed out, people aren't idiots. They can pull over onto the side of the lawn. We've all been there. You could do that if you had to. And I think in those situations, people do it. But a bit surprised by that, and so I'm looking for a little bit of guidance from you on whether or not you're open to any further discussion on that matter.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say from my perspective, there's been a lot of discussion about safety. It's generally been in the context of safety on the public roadway, but not specifically, I don't think I've heard the queuing issue raised, which was kind of a new one, and I wasn't aware that that was a concern of anyone on the board or anyone really. I don't think, I haven't read that particular issue. And the issue also of not the road, so that, which I think ultimately gets to the fact that that the driveway is not wide enough.
Right.
Right. So that's a pretty easy fix. I mean, that's a pretty easy fix.
I'm not sure it is.
Well, we don't know, but they weren't even given the opportunity to even explore that.
If I may, this was raised by Mr. Kaufman, Ms. Levin, and
Yeah.
the Welshes several times during your public hearing. The queuing on 102A.
Right.
Raised several times, it was an issue.
Yeah, but it isn't anything that we actually, I don't recall. I think one of the things that we should be doing as a board, it's just me here, others may not feel that way, is when we're working with applicants and and something really registers with us, we should let them know that. That's what I did the last time, and I told them, I said, I want to hear about your floodwater zone. I want to hear about that, because I need to be satisfied that that's met. You have to kind of work with people and let them know what you're concerned about. I think that, and so I do feel like, with a little bit of, at least from my perspective, we need to let applicants know if we have that concern and let them respond to that. Otherwise, if you wait until the end of a process and you say, well, we got you, that's not what we're here for. That's really not what we're about. I'll just let that sit.
Do you think that it's?
I can understand what you're saying, Brett, but first of all, that's reason why we recommend a pre-application conference, which they did go through. But there are issues that come up during our consideration of these applications that we didn't know about beforehand. I mean,
Right.
I didn't really think about the road, but
what he's
10 feet
asking
wide,
now-
you can't even get to.
What he's asking now, we just effectively denied this application today based on that issue for the first time. What he's asking now is, what do I do? Because normally it's an iterative process where there's give and take along the application process. And, look, if something's allowed, if there are concerns, you generally work with the applicant, and maybe you can't, maybe it's not possible.
I don't know. Right, we don't know yet. Yep.
But if you wait until the final day, you say no, they don't even have the opportunity to look into that. And that's not what I don't feel that that's what we are about. That's,
Well, at this point, that's water through the culvert, so
Yeah.
to speak.
well, yeah, I mean, that was certainly something we were concerned
So,
about.
Mr. Bear had a question.
Yeah.
What can he do?
Well, obviously, I realize that I can take an appeal from your decision, but for all of the reasons that Mr. Witham has described, and I think that Lawson understands at least, this came right out of the blue. There had never been any feedback at the pre-application meeting stage or anything about that, about deficiencies. I mean, we got down to nitty-gritty stuff about how big are your footlights going to be. We got down to moving cabins whenever we found when we got the wetland delineation done. We've done as best we can on any issue that's been identified. And here we are, not able to respond in any way by proposing any revision to something that has been brought to our attention at the 11th hour, 59th minute. Now, if that's the way that the board thinks that it should operate, there's nothing that I can do about that. You're just gonna move on. I get that.
Acadia Wilderness Lodge went through the same thing. They really did.
They
I mean,
what?
They kind of went through the same thing. I mean, they were slammed and
Different.
it's different,
Yeah.
but similar, and we worked with them to,
I mean,
Right, we did.
They also work with the neighbors.
yeah.
Thoughts. I guess it seems to me like we've been talking and we've heard lots of comment about concerns about traffic on Harbor Drive and that intersection. So I don't think that this is news to anybody. I hope it's not news to the applicant. That, okay, well then.
Well, there's the issue of just generally having extra traffic on Harbor Drive, and then there's the issue of getting to the conclusion that it's caused because the driveway, I mean, they described to us the circulation plan, and I remember there was a lady from some engineering firm that talked about the fact that they would be holding, you would, it's sort of like the Suez Canal.
Right.
Two ships
Yep.
can't pass the
Right.
Suez
So you
Canal.
wait
You
up
gotta
the top.
wait, right. And they described that, and no one, you know, my focus, at least on the road, had been about the regulatory issue as to whether, you know, the email issue.
Right. Oh, sure. Yep.
And so if I were an applicant, that's what I would have been focused on. You know, once that presentation was made by the engineer that described the traffic flow up and down the road and no one raised an objection to that, if I'm an applicant, and I know you feel a different way, Dan, but again, we're not,
And I
Telling
think I
us,
do
you're
too,
telling
Brett.
us that the neighbor's testimony is chopped liver, and it's not.
well,
Well, no, and I would go one step further, which is to say that I don't think that it's our responsibility to make sure that the applicant has met every standard until it's our responsibility to make sure that the applicant's met every standard. And that's what we did tonight. And that's, like, this is the point in the process when we go through with a fine tooth comb, when we will read every paragraph and we say, does this avoid queuing?
I think it's a process where I mean, the reason there's a pre-meeting, the reason there's a finding of completeness, the reason that there's public hearing, which was multiple here,
Yep.
is to draw out all those issues and give the applicant an opportunity to respond to them. It's not about gotcha at the last
I
minute.
totally agree. I totally agree. And so I think that
Which
I guess I feel two things. One of which is that I think that the applicant's responsibility is to look closely at the land use ordinance and make sure that there are all the requirements, in this case, the site plan review ordinance, make sure that proposal meets them. But I also think that we as a planning board can arrive at this moment, can notice something and be like, okay, it looks like it does not meet the requirements. And I don't know, I would like to think that we have the ability or the latitude to work with the applicant. I don't know what that looks like yet. I'm not quite ready to make a proposal, but I think that, but I'm not,
And that's what I think.
I'm not
is
sure that we
asking.
need to end this conversation tonight and like, never pick it up.
Mr. Larson, you're gonna say something?
If I may make a suggestion,
Please.
you have the ability to approve this condition that he submits a plan showing the driveway with dual access.
But then he's gonna have to go and get approval of that plan anyway.
Right, I mean, like,
I mean, it's an environmentally sensitive area, right? It's in the commercial fisheries maritime activity zone.
I mean, I think John's right, that, like, we could approve it conditionally on the condition that the applicant provides a plan that avoids queuing. I'm not convinced that that's possible, to design this project in a way that avoids queuing. And so I think the other, I don't know, do we have the ability to waive a requirement to say,
But then what
in
goes
this
to-
case, we're gonna allow?
I really have a difficult time approving something conditionally like this.
Okay.
So once we do this, one way or the other, then when do we go over this? And what if we find things here that need to be addressed?
Yeah, and, yeah, there
I mean,
could be, yeah.
Yeah, I think we would only get that far if we approved this. If we, like.
So we
wouldn't-
approve this and this is the next step.
Then we go to the next step, and the project isn't something of the green light until
Both have to be approved, okay? Right now, the way this stands, because we found the access not met, we'd have to deny it. Unless we take John's advice, and I don't like the conditional sort of thing, so.
Why can't you just?
Mr. Bear, you know, there was no attempt to blindside you with this. It's something that really came up in our conversations tonight in weighing this, okay? When you yourself or somebody said there was not room for 2 cars to pass in that driveway, I think maybe Beth raised the question.
We always knew that, because the plan, I remember her talking about people waiting at the top where people drove up.
Okay, I'd say I couldn't remember.
And then I didn't really, you know, it didn't seem, I think how many campsites are there? There's not gonna be that much traffic, so I was like, eh, but anyway.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, my bad,
I mean, it's like the smallest.
Yes, sir.
If I may, I mean, we're talking about this, and I spoke with Alina at length, because she wasn't able to be here today, because she contracted COVID, but she did specifically mention that this driveway, its existing width, was discussed at length. They talked about the fact that there is room for a pull-off, but there, you know, kind of the exiting vehicle has to yield to incoming, and that could be a sign that's put on the road. But she spoke in detail about her presentation of this to the board. So forgive us if we feel blindsided, but if this was already presented, because it's something that has some interpretation involved in how you apply that, I don't believe the ordinance says eliminate any potential chance of queuing. But the maximum trips are 12 per hour, that's 1 every 5 minutes. And that includes coming in and leaving. So if you call that a 50-50 split, you have 6 vehicles entering, 6 leaving in an hour. I feel like that's why this was presented previously.
Sir, you as an engineer, when you design a commercial business, an entryway for that, don't you, matter of course, just design it so one car can be coming out while another one goes in?
There are varying circumstances. There's a reason this is called a driveway and not an access road. And it comes down to the level of use that it's getting, the fact that it previously supported a bed and breakfast. And these are the reasons why this was made in a presentation. Because this isn't usual. This is using existing infrastructure.
It seems to be like one of the sort of questions that we, or like, that this is distilling is like, does this site in its existing space support this use? And we asked that question about water usage, we asked that question about sewage treatment, and in this case, we're asking that question about like vehicle access. Does the existing driveway allow for 12 peak hour trips?
How many rooms were in the bed and breakfast?
9.
Yeah.
I don't know, we had that at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the point, if anything, it's actually a small campground, right? It's like almost, it's like, how big is like the other ones? Bass Harbor Woods is like, I don't know, 100 and
That's big. Quiet side, I don't know, you used that as
60 something sites. I mean, those are definitely access roads. It's different. I feel like it's a little different because
And do those have two-way driveways?
I don't know. I don't know.
Which ones?
Quiet
Quiet
side
side?
does.
Quiet Site has actually two entrances,
Yeah.
yeah. And Bass Harbor, well, you should know, you're down there.
It's like a big open.
But those are both very old campgrounds.
Yeah, I know.
Long before the ordinance, so, yeah. And certainly at Katy Wilderness, it's wide enough.
Yeah, but they're huge. You know,
Yeah.
They're gonna have a lot more trips.
Mr. Chairman, is there any particular principal downside to, you asked me, whether we would consent to continuing the review under the land use ordinance to your next meeting? Sure. We'd like to be able to come to you at the next meeting with a revised plan. Nothing's revised other than the access road. And before you slam your gavel down and vote no, you can consider whether or not we've satisfied that standard with whatever revision you can make. Explain to me, if you can't do that, why you can't do that?
So what you're asking us to do is to postpone voting on whether to approve or deny this, these findings of fact for the site plan review, and allow you to come back with a revised plan, correct?
Yes.
That addresses the issue regarding the driveway.
Yes. Just,
And then we go to the land use, no, in this scenario, if that plan addresses the access to site requirements adequately, then we're able to approve site plan review, then we go to the land use ordinance, and then if we find issues there, do we then also put that on hold and ask the applicant to come back with a revision to the, I don't know, whatever the land use ordinance requirement that's not met?
believe me, we don't want to keep coming back.
Right.
The burden is on the applicant,
Yeah.
okay? They're supposed to provide us with the information we need to make a decision. And we use that information they provided to make that decision. We're not trying to play gotcha here. I don't see a problem in doing what he's asking, but I don't think it's gonna be that easy to do in 2 weeks.
My worry about it, does it set a precedent in which for every condition that's not met, we extend, or, I don't know, we postpone decisions or allow the applicant, give them more time? Which, maybe that's what, like, a planning board cooperates and, or like, works well with applicants, maybe that's what that looks like. It's like us extending deadlines and moving things, and maybe that's okay.
Well,
but-
what it normally involves is during the review process, if you have specific concerns about a project, you voice them, you let them know, which is what I did at the last meeting
Absolutely,
about,
we
about the,
we have revised buffering plans, we've got
right,
revised.
buffering and, the water, the wetlands issue. The road, the piece about the road that made a lot of noise was the fact that it was, it went through that zone.
Yep.
Look, I get that there were concerns about, safety on the road. At least from where I sat, in my judgment, that the size of the project and the increase in traffic, it wasn't substantial enough to make an issue of it. And so if we were gonna do that, I just feel like we need to give that input sooner. We need to give that input.
Is there
That's really a concern that we have.
Is there any scenario in which it would be okay for us during the findings of fact to identify, some part of an application that's doesn't meet the standard, and for the first time, we haven't talked about, I don't know, stormwater for this project, and now we realize, you know what? Or is the finding of fact, is it not appropriate to bring up something for the first time, finding of fact?
I think it depends. I think that, I think it would be unusual in a finding of fact to deny an application on an issue that has not otherwise been raised during the application process. That's how I feel.
I think I agree.
Yet you voted for this.
Well, you know, actually, I would probably change, you know, he just said something, I'd probably change my vote. It would have been, you know, 3-1. I just don't think there's enough traffic that, you know, I don't think it's the queue, like, is one person gonna have to wait once in a blue moon? Maybe. But people have to wait. There's not a, yeah. Again, I think it's that particular issue is one, it's a judgment call. It's fairly subjective. And, yeah, I'm not gonna revisit my vote the way I did. Is what it is.
And just for the record, I still disagree with you about every question being answered during the pre-application proceedings, because there's no way that this board could think of every little thing that's gonna come up when we review an application as complex as this.
But that did come up. We had a presentation from an engineer that's all it discussed. So it's not like it was something that didn't come up. I remember I remember the visual. I remember thinking, okay, people are gonna have to sit and wait at the top, you know, for someone to come up through. And if we had a problem with that plan, we should have said it then.
Well, that's what happens when applications get dragged on for a year or however long it's been, and you forget what's going on. I remember the presentation, but all I remember is trip generation figures.
No, we talked about, because I remember thinking to myself, yeah, they're not gonna be able to get down through there, or, you know, they might have, someone's gonna have to go on the lawn or something, but the plan was to have people at the top wait in the, you know, for, if they saw someone turning up in, they would back off and wait, which you see that a lot on, you know, access
So
roads.
my
You see
concern
that.
is not the people waiting to get out of the campground.
Yep.
It's that car, that's one car or vehicle waiting to get out of the campground that's holding up others trying to turn in there and then causing delays on 102A. And people come over that hill, you drive it every day.
I do.
You
I go
know.
very slow.
Yeah, yeah.
You're ready for it.
So we haven't answered Mr. Bear's question, have we? So the choice is, we vote either to approve or deny this right now,
With conditions.
or with the condition, which not is, I don't think is a good idea.
Can you unpack that more for me?
Why a condition?
Why you, just help me understand your thinking about why approving with condition
Okay,
is not.
well, okay, what is the condition in this case? Mr. Bear, what would the condition be?
That we return to this board with a satisfactory access way plan, whatever you wanna call it, before construction begins or whatever, sometime, we'll get the date and time.
The challenge with that is that.
Before
it means
construction
I just
begins?
said whatever, I'm just trying to give you some sense
Oh.
of where to go with it.
But as soon as they start modifying the driveway, it's no longer an existing driveway. And we're,
And it's going through
We
the
revisit
commercial
the
fishing
CFMA.
maritime, and it's a non-conforming use, yeah.
and so if we were to approve this with a condition, we would have, like, it would be a condition, like, the applicant would have to provide a access that avoids queuing that is, you know, that meets all the other requirements that is permitted under our ordinances. Which could be the condition now, is just, and I think it's appropriate for us to put the burden on the applicant to.
My main concern about conditions, approving things with conditions, is it's a slippery slope. Okay, we do it for one person, then the next person comes in, oh, you did it for them, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Well, even if we denied this right now, Mr. Bear certainly could take it to our appeals board, or he could come back to us with another plan at some point, right, Mr. Bear?
Do either of those things, yes.
Pardon?
I could do either of those things, yes.
Yep. I don't know, it's going on 9 o'clock, so I'm getting,
If I may, we did already speak of the fact that there are other conditions of approval to this project. This is not a unique thing, we already have to do for the, public water system. We already spoke of that as being a condition of approval, so, we do this all the time.
which is right in the ordinance.
Excuse me?
That's in the ordinance.
That it's a condition of approval?
Yes, it's right in the ordinance, yes.
So it's just a hesitancy with giving a condition of approval for the driveway, but you're fine giving it for.
We didn't give a condition of approval for that.
No, it was referenced though, it was.
I referenced it, yes, because our campground ordinances say that, let me quote it exactly, if I can find it here. 25. Where is it? Yeah, campgrounds must conform to the minimum requirements imposed under state licensing procedures. The planning board's approval is conditional on the state license approval. I know it said something about water program though, too. Maybe water program. Did we lose that one?
Mark, Dan has his hand up.
Okay, Dan, we'll let you speak.
Thank you. Approval upon the condition has to be the provision of some objective thing, a permit from another agency, for example, something that doesn't require value judgment or reassessment of the ordinance terms. The subject matter that you guys are discussing right now, approval on a condition requires the essentially creation of a new access road plan that has all sorts of, maybe it gets defined as a road as opposed to a driveway under your ordinance. Maybe it has to have some sort of base or turning radius or slope requirement that's not part of the existing driveway. I don't know all of the factors that are going to have to be weighed in that, but it's not something that you could just hand a piece of paper to the code enforcement officer, boom, you're approved. You're asking what the applicant is suggesting, at least this road, what the applicant is suggesting is, hey, approve everything, say we've met our requirement, even though you know we have it. And we'll submit something later that you guys can then evaluate to see if we really do meet it. Those are different standards.
I don't disagree with that, and which is why my preferred route would be that before you get to the land use review standards, we come back to you with this plan. You can decide then and there whether you find it acceptable or not.
Any comments, anybody? I'm okay if they come back with something else, if they can actually do it and show us they can do it, that's fine.
When we were going through the subdivision application earlier today, I thought that we had made a mistake one paragraph earlier. And it suggested we might need to go back there and look at the shoreline zoning language again. We didn't make a mistake, it was fine. Is there any way for us to go back and re-vote on an issue that we've already voted on? Or paragraph, is that, like, could we go back to access into the site, that requirement, rediscuss it, make a different motion, or the same motion, or whatever, re-vote on it with new information.
You mean tonight?
No, like, if that is possible for us to do ever, then we could, like, table this, or like, put a hold on this meeting, continue this in 2 weeks, this discussion, not resolve anything, not vote on the, so leave this open, and go back and revisit paragraph C.
Okay, so we could table acting on these findings of facts that we just went through
Right.
until the next meeting. Let them come back. And if they have something, we could revisit it, right, John? I think Robert's rules would allow us to do that, right? You know all about Robert's rules, right?
Well, you have a motion for reconsideration or something
Yeah,
like that, I
yeah.
suppose. I don't know that.
I think as long as we don't take a final vote right here, I think
That's probably
it's much
true.
easier, or much cleaner than if we
That's
were.
true.
Yeah.
The concern I would have is that if we're asking for more information about something as substantial as the access driveway, it's hard to imagine that not influencing or impacting other parts of the project.
But it's the only driveway.
Correct. And maybe that's something we just take that risk, and like, when we get, when and if we get new information. I guess I just don't know, I don't know what we do when it comes back and there's some other consideration that it now feels like we're looking at a different project. It's a more substantial change, and we've already gone through the site plan review findings of fact based on this drawing.
I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, you could do a lot of things with a driveway like that, right? You could actually do the Suez Canal approach, put a pond in the middle, you could have one, you could put a turnout in the middle, where someone coming down can just turn out and wait for someone to go by, or you
Right.
could decide to lengthen, widen the entire length. I mean, there are ways you could make.
You could say only turn right. You're not allowed to turn left out of there. So you're never waiting.
You're never waiting for a left-hand turn, yeah, you could do that.
I don't know if you could, I don't know how you would enforce that. I don't know if that would be effective. I don't know if it's a good idea, but
Yes, sir.
So I have a suggestion
Okay.
to go with tabling this, because you still have to go through.
Oh, I know that,
Yes.
yes.
So there's no point if you approve this and come back and say,
You're right, right.
here's a
Continue.
copy of it.
He might, yeah. Are you saying that the applicant may want to wait until we discuss everything before coming back with a plan?
Well, he comes back, but he now has a copy of
Oh, okay, okay,
use requirements,
okay.
so it won't be a surprise.
well, the applicant's had a copy of the land use requirements forever. That's not new, right? That's in here. What he has is your interpretation or your summary of that. And if that prompts him to change, to revise or to change the proposal, I think I would get pretty nervous about welcoming any changes that address things without then giving the,
Well, there's a, on the land use requirements, with the buffering and the fence,
yeah,
where the 8-foot section is and where the 16-foot section is not delineated and
Right.
planned.
right.
That's gonna come up as an obstacle,
Yeah,
I would assume.
Sure, and we haven't looked at the buffering plan, in the findings of fact yet.
yeah, this is what, the third or fourth buffering plan?
And so, but, we've just given a code enforcement officer's interpretation or summary of that,
Yeah.
which is not planning board discussion. It may or may not yield new, information from the applicant, but if it does, I would get nervous about that slippery slope of how much revision do we have? Maybe like a simple question like, where does 8 feet turn into 16 feet? That might not be substantial, like that's, you know, that's the kind of thing that we can determine through a findings of fact conversation. Whereas if the shape of the driveway changes, that's something more substantial, or if cabins were to get moved, or I don't know what the other more substantial thing.
Okay, we could be here all night discussing this, and let me make a suggestion. Let's table everything, continue it or table action on this, continue everything until our next meeting, the October 25th meeting. Does that sound good to you, Mr. Bear?
Thank you.
I am not going to be here.
You're not gonna,
I
are
have
you
to
going
go-
moose hunting?
I have to go shoot a moose.
You're not gonna shoot a moose, you're gonna go sit in the car while somebody else shoots a moose, come on. Can't you just send a life-size dummy and come here to the meeting?
Yeah,
Okay,
thought I'd let you know now instead of,
okay, so, but you guys will be here for the meeting, right? The three of us will be.
I think my daughter's really sick of this.
That's the 25th, sorry.
Can't wait for another campground discussion.
Are you welcoming additional information?
Yes, Mr. Barra said he would find a new version of the driveway or deal with that situation.
And are you gonna provide submission, are you gonna allow the abutters opportunity to
What-
review or comment?
Certainly,
You guys already had 4 votes. You can't then remove a member and vote on the same issue again.
pardon? Say that again?
You already voted 4-0 on an issue. Now you're talking about tabling and reconsidering it without one of the members who voted last time.
Yeah, that's, she's not here, and that's true too.
I don't love that scenario.
Yeah. It's, so, we may have to deny this right now.
Because of that, because of the suggestion that members aren't gonna be there, then just kick the can down the road.
Well-
We're all gonna be here.
2 weeks later.
We got 3, what do you think?
I don't think the point he makes is valid, but if you wanna go along with it, then just, that's in fact great. Again, we've been through changes in boards, significant changes.
I mean, as long as you have a quorum, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
I disagree with it under these circumstances. I disagree with
Sure you do.
I mean, all you need is a quorum, you know?
That would be, I would feel like that was, I mean, that's what happened
And
with
it's a
2010,
quorum of people that were here for this.
where we like had lots of conversation, but then Jeff went on vacation, but we hadn't, that was, I don't think we'd started the findings of fact. Like, the 3 of us did all the findings of fact at once.
Wrong. Jeff started,
He did start it?
yeah,
And did he vote on some of them and not vote on others?
yeah.
Okay. And then so that would be the same scenario here.
Well, except I don't think we revisited anything that he had voted on.
Right, right. The wrinkle.
November?
Which year?
When's my term up?
Okay, I'll take a motion.
To table till November?
No,
Is that what you're,
no, it's the next meeting, right?
or,
Or did you want to wait till
No,
November?
I'll wait until November. I mean, we're not gonna do anything this season, obviously, so it's fine by us.
the 15th,
So it's the meeting, first meeting in November,
15th,
16th,
15th.
15th, okay.
not the 8th?
I don't know why it's not the 8th.
The 8th is election day, yeah.
Oh,
That's
yes.
why I was wondering, that's why it's the 15th. Okay,
Oh, yeah, we want to do that.
Yep.
does that work for you, Mr. Pelleggi, too, the 15th?
I can work with, I don't agree with any of this, but I can make any changes here.
Really noted.
Thank you for meeting us halfway anyway.
I'll make a motion to table the discussion of findings of fact until our November 15th, regularly scheduled planning board meeting.
And do you want to include anything about Mr. Bear coming back with? Mr. Bear, well, hold on, hold that thought there. I want to give Mr. Plaguey time to respond too. You think you'll have that new quote-unquote driveway plan in place by the, or ready by the October 25th meeting?
By the October 25th, 2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
How about 2 weeks before the meeting?
Well,
November 1st?
would that be November 1st or by November 1st?
Yes.
Okay. And that would give you time to respond, right, Mr. Plaguey?
Certainly.
He responds by the 8th.
Yeah, so November 1st for submissions from the applicant. And November what would it be?
1st.
8th.
Comments.
It's a Tuesday,
Oh,
for
yeah.
8th,
Comment from the public.
yeah. Submissions by public and Mr. Plaguey.
Who is the member of the public? Amongst other things, but yes.
Okay, you want to make that motion again?
I'll make a motion to table the Pointy Head Campground findings of fact for November 15th at our regularly scheduled 6 p.m. meeting here in the Harvey Kelly meeting room. That's the applicant to provide any additional material by November 1st. And members of the public to respond by, to make any comments that they would like to by November 8th.
You got a hand up.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the motion.
Okay, I'll second it.
Great.
Okay.
And now for discussion.
Second, sir,
I just, you had mentioned the fence differential, where 16 feet and where 8 feet and all that, is it permissible to include that in that submission?
I think any additional information is welcome on November 1st.
I didn't want to do wholesale changes here and there.
Well, I think that if there are wholesale changes,
Yeah, got it,
the board would respond,
yeah.
would address those at our November 15th meeting.
okay, with motion second on the table to table Pointy Head Campground findings of fact until November 15th, 6 p.m. here at the Harvey Kelly meeting room, with November 1st being the deadline for submissions from the applicant, and November 8th for submissions from the members of the public and Mr. Plaguey. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, we got that out of the way. Okay, CEO, let's move on right through here. It's getting late. I'm sure everybody's hungry. I am. Tremont School accessory structure, what's that about?
School wants 28 by 60. Temporary classroom.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, temporary, yep.
But it's a building. I mean, it's-
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it needs site plan review.
Merry-go-round?
Mostly beds,
Oh, the gardens in there?
just to the left of the drop, asphalt
Okay,
goes to the playground.
Yeah.
yep. Where we had it before.
They had one there before.
I think so, yeah, but, yeah, before the addition.
So my question is, do you want them to go through site plan review? In the ordinance, site plan, there's an exception for a building, an accessory structure, less than 600 square feet. Obviously, this is more than 600 square feet,
But it's temporary.
so I can't permit it.
Are we gonna deny a temporary classroom for the school? I don't think so.
No, but we might help, we might make sure that it's not on the wetland or on the.
I think they said it.
We're not
basically
going
on-
to deny it if they meet the standards.
But if they want to put it on the wetland. or-
Are you asking us whether we need to see it at all, or we can authorize you? Yeah, I would authorize him to just say, okay, it's okay, but that's just me.
Well, you as the CEO should be able to determine whether it needs site plan review or not.
Well, it is, it's over the square footage.
Oh, it's over the square footage, okay. Yeah,
So
okay.
if we're reading it strictly,
Let's do it. It shouldn't take long. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, could you repeat that? I'm actually on the school board committee, so I was hoping to hear that discussion, and I couldn't hear any of it, so I apologize.
Oh,
Yeah.
John said schools come to him and they want a temporary classroom, and I think that they considered, he didn't say this tonight, but they considered building one, but apparently it came in too expensive and the cost was too high, and they're gonna lease one, right? It's a leased building, it's gonna go on a site somewhere over there, and he wants to know whether we, as a planning board, have to review it under site plan review, or site plan review ordinance, which does say because of the square footage, right, John, that we need to review it. I don't think it's a big deal. It's certainly nothing like reviewing something like this. But then again, we haven't seen the plan, so I'm not willing to waive something that's supposed to come before us.
for us to
Yeah.
look at it.
Okay.
You'll put the plans in the package? Okay. Any idea when they might want to come before us? Oh,
Do you
great.
know when you wanna get the, is it for next school year? Or is it for like next month? Are they on the way?
So the quote that I was just looking at said delivery on October 19th, but I haven't confirmed that
Okay.
with the principal or anything, so I don't know that. November 1st.
So we were talking about putting it in the parking lot the other side of Marsh Road,
Right.
Yep,
till they get the site prepped.
Until what?
They get the site prepped.
Oh, okay, okay.
I would leave it in John's good judgment, but that's just me.
Well, his judgment is that it requires site plan review.
No, his judgment is he's asking us.
That's what the ordinance says.
Yeah, well, if the ordinance says it, we do it. That's why we're here.
Okay.
Jeez. Okay, enough of that then, okay. Our next meeting's October 25th. Remember, we've got that public hearing on the solar thing, right, John? That's been advertised, okay?
Great.
And if if I remember correctly, I either volunteered or someone forced me into writing a press release on that and sending it to the paper to make sure that the workshop, okay, I'll do that, okay, before that next meeting, okay. And I'll get something up on the website too, town website. Okay, so I'll take a motion to set the next date for the next meeting, October 25th.
I'll make a motion to schedule our next meeting for October 25th at 6 PM in the Harvey Club meeting room
Time,
at 6 PM.
okay. Second? I have a motion and a second to the table to set the date for the next meeting, October 25th, here in the Harvey County Meeting Room on 6 o'clock. All in favor? Okay. Motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second, anybody? Motion and second to adjourn. Okay, thanks, folks. Thanks for bearing with us, everybody. Oh, I turned the tape.
Oh, yes, I'll talk to you guys as soon as I have a little more. Yeah, you got it. See you next time.